2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Yo, what's the deal, Panther fans? It's your boy, the Professor, a.k.a. Tony Dunn. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions. You can find me on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. You can get into the show tonight by calling into the Cat Calls line. The number's 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098, where you can chop it up with the best Panther fans around and some of my favorite friends when it comes to talking about the Carolina Panthers. I'm about to get their window pulled up. Unprepared Tony here tonight. Welcome to the C3 Panthers Podcast, Cody Lashney.
Tony Dunn, listen, you are known as the Professor, and last Sunday you gave your boy some homework, and I delivered, and I'm looking for my A+, baby. Tonight I have my top 5 general manager candidates for after the Panthers need to do what is inevitable, and that is fire Marty Hurney. And I'm going to list all of the reasons why that should be done. I'm pumped to do it. Tony Dunn, we're going to do it with the best Panther fans and all of YouTube. Damn it, let's go. Humble Flip, No Fool, 10 Tizzy, Trill 1, Underground West, Joey the Blind Panther Esquivel, Tripper Turf Talk, Civil Peach 81, 704 Bound Charlotte. Tony Dunn, ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
Go ahead and smash the thumbs up button, folks. Got a good show for you tonight. Tonight's show, what is the title of it? Tonight's show is, what did I name it? Can Carolina buy a GM for the win? And I spelled buy like that intentionally, BYE, as we go into a buy. So we're trying to buy a win. We might be trying to buy a GM tonight when it comes to Cody Lashney. We got a lot to talk about. Comes to rumors when it comes to not signing, re-signing, or re-signing Taylor Moton. Some murmurs flying around on that. We'll address that. And one of the big issues tonight is going to be talking about the final stages of that Minnesota game and really how the team has reacted to the final couple of drives there. And the subject of accountability is going to come up. We'll hear from Matt Rule on the topic tonight. We'll hear from Teddy Bridgewater. And I'm going to tell you guys, I think Teddy Bridgewater changed his tune a little bit when it came to Monday. But for all you people that just says that I just want to say Teddy is a little defensive about this and pulled a little Tom Brady on it. There's a little Tom Brady in Teddy Bridgewater. Maybe he studied under him rather than Drew Brees. We'll have that audio from the press conferences and more tonight. And to break it up, chop it up with us is the man of many podcasts, the Stat Daddy, a.k.a. Greg. How you doing, Greg?
I'm doing fantastic, man. It's that time of year where we know what's going on with the franchise. We know kind of what we are, where we're going to be at. And, I get to kind of tout that I've been right about Teddy Bridgewater all year, and there's no defense people have for Bridgewater. I can't wait to talk about that in this game. I'm especially interested to hear Cody's stats and Cody's homework because I think he can be very convincing. I want to hear a convincing argument. I think he'll give it to us. So ready to do it.
Also, the man of many streams, CK in the house, and I went back and listened to the post game, CK, and you were on fire, man. You really brought it. Good job.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I was. I ended that game more angry than all season at Teddy Bridgewater.
Mm-hmm.
That was just how it was. And when I went into that, it was, what we had is a quarterback who very well could have hurt. Luckily, it doesn't sound like it's super problematic, but could have ended DJ Moore's season based on the way that looked. That's what we thought. We saw him grimacing in pain on a non-contact injury on a wide open back of the end zone route that any quarterback in the NFL should have been able to hit. And it was solely on and after, by the way, after watching your little stinger, Tony, I hated Teddy Bridgewater even more because he doesn't even mention DJ. He doesn't. He mentions Robbie Anderson. He said, I should have gone a different route. Like I should have gone to Robbie. I'm like, dude, you had your man in the back of the end zone. You cannot say miscommunication. There's no reason DJ Moore literally stands still in the back of the end zone right there. Mm-hmm. There is no route that exists that you're going to have him just stand still right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Speaking of that stinger, let me see if I can pull it up right now. I thought that it was interesting myself. And here was Teddy Bridgewater after the game. And I thought I put this together well with the plays. Yeah. And check it out on Twitter. Make sure you retweet it. I'm going to play it for you guys right now. The fellas can't see it, but they can hear it. You guys can see everything because I love the YouTube chat. This is Teddy Bridgewater.
I think you could have done differently and
be better from top to bottom.
Is this? Does you feel like this was your best effort?
Hold on. I got two videos playing at the same time.
Yeah.
I feel like we might have panicked a little bit. Trying to figure out what play call to call. In that situation because it's like, man, do you run the ball and get stopped? Make the clock go down to probably a minute or 10. You throw the ball, try to score, and I think honestly we called a great play. We just didn't have enough time to execute the play. It was a play where we wanted to shift Robbie to get a good man zone read to see what defense they're in, and because we we're against the clock, we just had to rush into it. I think if we would have got the play call in, or we would have been able to make a decision sooner on what call to make. I think we see the look, we check to a run play, and hopefully we score or, we make the clock go down. But just one of those deals where, DJ popped open, wasn't the right look, but still just got to hit the throw problem.
TJ, I'm sorry, let me follow up real quick on that. So you're saying that the play came into you late from the sidelines?
No, it was just one of those deals where I think they were trying to decide, how we wanted to approach the situation. Did we want to, run the ball, like I said, get the clock down, and then before you know it, once you made a decision, you had about 15 seconds, just tried to hurry up and get the play snapped. But looking back, like I said, if we could have just, got it off, a second or 3 seconds later, we would have got into a run play and had a better chance to score a touchdown.
All right, guys. So what's crazy to me, as I went back and watched this, and I made this video. The thing that bothered, I say, how about this? Let me ask you questions. What are your thoughts on DJ's response? This was DJ after the game talking about the final drive, particularly the final call. Yes.
Listen, man, I kind of think that he read his Twitter mentions. I kind of think that Teddy Bridgewater went online because I know damn well Teddy Bridgewater goes on Twitter. Okay, I have seen him bullshitting back and forth with people on Twitter, before the season started. We know this is something that he does. Okay, and yesterday, especially after that clip, even Teddy Bridgewater defenders, noted Teddy Bridgewater defenders, got pissed off at how he answered that question and started to call him out and say, man, that ain't it, man. How are you not going to own up on that one? How are you not going to take your fair share of the blame for not hitting DJ Moore wide open in the back of the end zone? I mean, that was on him. I know there are people that are trying to say, oh, he didn't. He should have sat down in the soft spot of the zone and that he shouldn't have kept running. Whatever, man. Teddy Bridgewater missed the throw and didn't take responsibility for it. And Twitter got on his ass. And he felt like a dumbass. And maybe even the coaches said, hey, man, listen, we're preaching accountability over here. And everyone has to take the onus on themselves. So what if it was, even if it was right that it was a miscommunication, if you're the quarterback, everything.
But that's not what he said. He didn't say it was a miscommunication. He kept saying a couple of things. He said it over, and I might play it again. And I got the Monday press conference. That's the directly after the game press conference response. He kept saying it wasn't the right look. We didn't get the playoff, and we didn't have enough time. I tell you one thing is we got away with several delayed game calls in this game. There were several times it looked like to me that the play clock was at zeros, and then we snapped the ball and they gave it to us. This was one of those plays. I have a couple of questions though. My follow-up question to Teddy would be, what does not getting the play in fast enough matter when you get the play off actually and everybody is wide open? Right? I mean, like at that one point, to me, it seems like, yes, you might not have been as calm and prepared, but you do have to note that, this is part on you. The play clock's going to go. The other question I have is, what's up with the look thing? Why do you keep saying it's not the right look? It's not the right look. He was wide the hell open. What was the right look? And third, I'm asking Teddy Bridgewater at this point, are you scared, homie? Are you scared? Because all you kept saying is, we should have run the ball. We should have run the ball. We should have run the ball. DJ Moore's wide open. The touchdown was there. The play could have worked, should have worked. You said it was a good play call. Yes, there could have been some better things in execution, and getting the play call in a little faster, getting to the line. It wasn't getting the play call in. That was actually a thing. The refs put the ball in play a little quicker than they expected. That was one of the things we'll hear from Matt Rule on that. But why do you want to run the ball so bad when this guy's wide open? Why don't you want the ball there? Give the ball to the best player on the field type mentality. Where's the dog in you, Teddy? And why don't you just say, I missed the throw?
No, you're absolutely right, man. It's all about accountability. And here's the thing that bothers me the most about Teddy Bridgewater and the comments he was making is, you're right. He's talking about the timing and not the right look. And I think he's alluding to they didn't have enough time to figure out the right play call for that moment. Man, I sure do wish you practiced. I sure do wish you got a chance to practice that, because that would have given you enough time to make that decision and be a quarterback that's a leader of a team and make that play, because I guess we just got to give him time to practice,
It sure looked like the right look to me as DJ Moore is wide open in the back of the end zone.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's making an excuse is what it sounds like. It really sounds like an excuse, because it doesn't make any sense when you break it down like we're doing it right now.
And by the way, Teddy has been the starter all year for us, okay? And people were going to drag P.J. Walker over hot coals for throwing 2 red zone interceptions, but Teddy's been the starter all year, and he can't even get on the right rhythm to find an open DJ Moore at the back of the end zone. Like, that guy has been practicing with the ones all year. I mean, this guy is our starter. Okay, so why is it not even double on Bridgewater for him making mistakes in the red zone when PJ Walker was coming in hot off the bench and still managed to do more?
I don't need to blame him. I don't need to feel better about blame. I'm not going to feel better about myself for this game by blaming Teddy Bridgewater. I was just interested in the idea that there was no mention that he missed the throw.
He missed the throw. Yeah.
Yeah. No accountability.
That's the only thing. All right. Here's Matt Rule on this final drive.
Wondered if you tried to go for it or thought about going for it on 4th and goal from the 3, and just in general seemed like y'all didn't run much clock in the last 2 times you had the ball.
Well, I think we ran the ball down to, we ran the ball down under, 5-6 seconds. I would have liked to have gotten it less. Teddy, who normally snaps under 5, was like around 11 on the first drive. We had a good drive going, and then had that second and 14. Play just didn't work. They hit us for a tackle for loss. We're kind of behind the chains. So, punting that I'm referring to in terms of us just not keeping the ball moving. We threw the ball in the flat. Weren't able to complete it. Punted the ball down, gets the ball back to us, and I think that time they, we ran the ball on first down, went to the 2-minute warning, ran the ball on second down to get them to use their last timeout. And had it been at the 2-yard line, I would have gone for it. At the 3, we hadn't had much success with those type plays yet. So I figured take the points, make them have to score a touchdown and an extra point. With them having no timeouts left. So that was the thought process. Had they scored with 5 seconds left, I would, say maybe I should have run the ball on third down. I thought we had a good play. He was wide open. We just weren't able to connect on it. I thought a touchdown would end the game. Fourth down, I just figured take the points, make them score a touchdown. They scored so quickly that I don't know that I can relate it back to any of those things. At least gave us a chance to have the ball back at the end.
Yeah, Matt, on that third down play, you're coming out of a timeout, which, of course, they had called, and it looked like somehow Teddy ended up having to kind of rush the call and barely beat the play clock. What happened there, and did it affect the mechanics of the play itself?
Yeah, they I don't want to sit here and complain about anything. They put the ball in play and while we were still on the sideline. So, normally those things aren't quite that fast. At least we were not expecting to do that fast. It was fast. That's on us. Again, it wasn't a good enough day.
Do you think it did affect kind of Teddy's throw and just the play in general?
I can't say that. But, at the end of the day, it's our job to have simple, calm plays. Again, it's well designed. He was under duress on that play, so have to put those things on us.
There's a different tone in that when I hear that. And I didn't hear Matt Rule blame any of the players. I don't hear, he explained what happened. He didn't even throw Joe Brady under the bus at all for this not being off fast enough. And there was something to this. I think they were coming off of a timeout. It did seem like all of a sudden it's been strange this season when a team has taken a timeout ourselves, the other team, and then we still look flustered or rushed at that moment. You would think you would be very well prepared with that additional time to get the play off. But he said, look, they put the ball in play a little bit faster while we were on the sidelines. He didn't say that it was supposed to interrupt the throw. But again, I think he's saying here, we've got to make that touchdown. You make that throw, this game's over. He'll say it in a different spot too. We make a stop on defense, we win this game. We make the kick, we win this game. We score that touchdown, we win this game. There are 3 different opportunities for the Carolina Panthers to win this game. Now, here's Teddy Bridgewater on Monday talking about the same event.
Happened on that play and what you could have done differently. And again, does you feel like this was your best effort?
Honestly, man, when the game is over and it's a game that, you really wanted to win and a game that you should have won, you walk away from that game frustrated. And, as the play was going on, like I said, we had a great play called. And, I think if we would have been able to just kill a play and get to the run or something like that, we may have given our chance a better chance to score, or if not, still ran some more time off the clock. But like I said in the press conference yesterday, it's just a throw that I got to make. We schemed the pass play up for a certain look, and they didn't give us that look. But, when DJ pops open behind those linebackers, I just got to make that throw. So I'm aware of that, man. When I'm playing well,
sounds like somebody had a meeting.
Energy is there. This team plays well.
Yeah.
I think.
So okay, hold on. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Right? Instead of saying first, one, I should have made the throw. He's still saying
He still hasn't said
we
it.
should have checked to a fucking run play. Like, dude,
Yes,
what are you
he said
talking
that
about?
on Sunday. He said that on Sunday, and then he doubled down on it on
Dude, that
Monday.
shows you everything that you. So look, 704 bound Charlotte said it perfect in here earlier. The guy plays scared. He has absolutely no gusto to him. That guy has no bravado to put the ball into the end zone when it matters, like a boss. He had DJ Moore open, and instead of him regretting that he missed the throw, he wishes that the play would have come in faster, so that way he could have put the ball in the hand of his
So he could have
running back
checked out of it. That's so
instead of his own self. Listen, Bridgewater continues to show you who he is. The man has no spine. He is not a leader. And I'm sorry, but this whole game and the press conference has done nothing to ingratiate himself at a time when no one really believes that he's an answer at the quarterback position.
The
he has
people
done nothing but harm himself.
The people defending Teddy now are only defending Teddy because they've been a Teddy defender up to this point.
And they don't want to look
sticking true
and they
to their
don't.
word.
It's just the reality of it. That's what you're having right now. The fact is, when I hear Teddy say that, what I am hearing is him saying, no matter what the coaches called, he was always going to check out of it into a run. He didn't care. Like, it sounded like he was like, if it came in a little earlier, I would have had time to check out. So not only is he blaming the coaches for not getting the play into him quicker, he's now blaming the coaches for calling the wrong call.
That's what this is what when I put in my tweet, I put, is he throwing shade? Is he being accountable or not being accountable? Or is he just scared? And go and see the tweet and the stinger. I wrote that. So I was it 704 that said that too? I agree with you. Is that there was another time this season where we got a big play. I don't know if it was on a 4th down. It was early in the season or some sort of touchdown. And it was like the best play of the game, and it was Teddy checking into a run, like an audible into a run. Now, here's the thing is, so he said we drew, it was a great play. These were his words. It was a great play. We drew it up for a certain look. We didn't get that look, so I would have checked into a run, and we could have scored a touchdown. What kind of bad look was it? What would the right look have been? And I mean, I don't know where the linebackers have to be and some different things. Maybe they just sat flat-footed and they didn't think we were going to pass it. But what did they need to do for you to make that throw? Like lay down?
Yeah.
Like what exactly. I still don't know how it's not a good look. Not the right look. Not the right look. The look looked awesome to me as a guy had nobody around him and you had a game-winning opportunity. He just, again, I think it shows you is that's what I called him Tea Party Teddy.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I just wanted to highlight a comment in our chat. Civil Pete says Teddy might be low-key toxic. So maybe he has an error about him that just
it feels that way.
Yeah.
And somebody asked in the chat. They say, "Does Teddy even have the locker room? Like, does he really have the locker room behind him?" At this point in time, he is making his receivers work too hard for them to want him out on the field.
Right,
and getting them hurt.
Yeah,
literally. Now they're saying that DJ Moore might be able to play at Denver. Dude, how lucky is DJ Moore that he didn't rip his ACL in half?
Hey, Teddy Bridgewater is sitting here looking at us right now. The reason why he's always smiling no matter what, losing in a game time situation, like
he got paid $60 million.
Smiling. He's saying, I got $63 million of your dollars. You ain't got no backup plan. Teddy Bridgewater, like Sam Bradford, is a stripper quarterback. He's going to take your money and not give you what he promised you, or what he let you believe you're going to get. So
even when everything is perfect around him, it's not even guaranteed that he'll deliver. And trust me, everything has to be perfect. He will never create on his own and make a play where there isn't a play to be made.
I won't say never. There has been times, even on his scrambles, the 4th down runs, the dives, the flips.
Not enough for it to matter. Not enough for it to be like, oh, dude, but Teddy Bridgewater we have a chance to win the football game. Teddy will make us right even when the defense made us wrong. Teddy Bridgewater just doesn't have that. It doesn't have it. And I'm hoping now that it's apparent to everyone. We've been on this forever. Okay, so us here at this C3 podcast, man, we're allowed to pat ourselves on the back because we've been saying this forever and we've taken a lot of shit for it also. But now people are finally starting to see, wow, you know what? They were right. Teddy Bridgewater has never shown us any indication that he's a franchise quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Can I like one thing I'll mention too, Cody, because you had a really long Twitter mention with I can't remember, it was another podcast, I think, and their excuse for Teddy, especially with the DJ pass, was it was a miscommunication. But in the same stream was talking about how PJ Walker threw 2 interceptions in the red zone, which by the way were miscommunications as well.
Right.
We still wanted to blame PJ for those. But when it comes to Teddy Bridgewater, when he had 1 interception that was not a miscommunication, just a really bad decision to throw into quadruple coverage and try to get his running back's head taken off. And the other one was just a very bad miss that had there been a defender actually playing man on DJ would have been an interception. Just the reality of it. Anyway, it's just funny because the defenses on Teddy are the exact things they were criticizing PJ on, which and PJ was in his first year and his first start in the league. Yes, it may have been against the Detroit Lions. We were playing the Vikings this go round, and our defense scored more than our offense did. That's the problem.
Yeah. Hey, real fast, we have 44 people watching, 27 thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up, baby. Share with all your Panther friends that you want to be able to come in here and talk Panther football. That's what we do, man. We're for the fans, by the fans. Hey, man, even if you dislike the video, as long as you're interacting, dude, you hitting the button, that's more than Teddy Bridgewater can do. So go ahead and hit those buttons, baby.
I don't want this to be a well, actually, I don't care what it is, what it becomes. I want some of the people that listen to podcasts or people that are upset, people that want us to be more friendly to Teddy or whatever it may be, more supportive. They tend to think that they always lump the voice of this show into one, right? It's just like this podcast says this. Well, first, there are 4 people on this show that have different opinions. There's hundreds of people that interact with the podcast each week that all have nuanced opinions. Often they overlap, yes. And look, have I been a giant Teddy Bridgewater fan from the beginning? I mean, I'm going to cheer for the dude, but I see what I see, and I've been telling you he's been conservative. This is what Teddy, what we've said is he is what we thought he was, right? We said these types of things. And in this case, is that I think people are going to be like, you're raking him over the coals for every single thing. I'm not. I'm just listening to the press conferences at this point. I'm not going to you and saying, oh man, Teddy lost this game for us. Is that these are questions that were asked from the reporters that are saying, what happened here? And these are the responses. And this, you get Teddy, who I think gave an answer that and he does that, and he's done this all season. In some ways it's good. It's coach speak, it's player speak, or whatever, it's podium speak. We got to get better, we got to perform better, we got to do this. And when you say the wheeze, it takes individuals out of it. You don't throw your players under the bus. But he pointed out that the play call's not in fast enough. He never pointed a finger back at himself. Here's Matt Rule, though, on where the blame lies in this game.
Before you play
I pressed play. Sorry, I'm back. All right, what do I need to before?
I know I fucked you up, but the reason I wanted to say Matt Rule in that first clip that you played did what a leader is supposed to do. Listen, if I'm the head coach and you're my quarterback and you're fucking up, I'm gonna pull you aside when it matters, when it's just me and you, when it's me and you and the coaches, and I'm going to hold you accountable. But I'm also, as the head coach, not going to go up on the podium and throw you under the bus and say, yeah, our quarterback lost it for us. Now, some coaches do that. Bruce Arians has kind of been doing that with Tom Brady.
He's been doing that.
Yeah, really. But I mean, listen, Matt Rule as a first-year head coach is trying to ingratiate himself with not only Teddy Bridgewater, but with the entire football team. And you don't want a first-year head coach throwing players under the bus as soon as they make a mistake. It's on him. And he has to do what a leader is supposed to do. And he did that. So I give Matt Rule credit for answering in the way that he did.
This is what, and to be fair to some of the past comments, Cody, that's what I was mentioning when Joe Brady said that Teddy Bridgewater's a franchise quarterback. Like, what else is it supposed to say? You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, that's what you're supposed to say. I do believe this.
Right.
All right, here is Matt Rule again on where the blame lies.
This wouldn't sting any worse, just kind of how the game ended and how it ended compared to some of the other one possession losses.
No, I mean, I think they all bother you the same. I mean, this one frustrates me because I've always been very honest with the guys. If they came in and thought, hey, we didn't play hard enough, we didn't play well enough, we didn't do this, that one, I feel like all the things we're talking about here it falls back on us as a staff. So, we've got to put the ball in the end zone there at the end and end the game, or we've got to stop them, or we've got to, make that field goal. And so, in that game, we missed the field, we had a field goal blocked. We missed that field goal. I mean, just not good enough all around. So, instead of pointing fingers, I'd rather just, point the thumb back at me and just say, hey, that's not good enough. Falls back. I mean, that's not like coach speak. I'm disappointed in myself and my staff tonight.
Wow, that's dare I say, and I would love to hear Greg's opinion on this. I mean, the man did mention coach speak. I mean, dare I say, that's a little bit of self-awareness, is it not?
Okay, so hold on. So he brings up we could have done this. This is what happened. This is what happened. This has changed. This has happened. But I'm not going to mention that, and I'm not going to blame that. I'm going to point the finger at me, the thumb back at me, even though you just mentioned all that. And then, I mean, if I lie to you, Cody, and then I say, well, it's not a lie. Does that mean it's not a lie?
But what did he say?
I don't know what I mean.
Like, I mean,
say, well, this is not just coach speak. We could have changed this when we had a field goal blocked. We missed this field goal. We didn't tackle here and this and that. But I'm not going to mention that. I'm going to point the finger back at me.
But
you just mentioned that. Like,
but it appears as though all those things that he's mentioning, he is taking the blame for those things.
Yeah, right. Because if you don't
pointing the finger back at him, that's taking the blame.
Here's what he's saying. He's saying that there were three opportunities to execute, and when all three opportunities fail, it can't just be on the players. There is an accountability that has to be taken place by him, and that's what I think he's bringing those three things up for. It'd be different if he said, we should have just scored that touchdown and things would have been better. It wouldn't have mattered where the defense did it. Then at that point in time, he is pointing fingers right at Teddy Bridgewater. Mm-hmm. But what I think he's saying here and what I hear, and this is what we all do as human beings, is we listen to one thing and we hear something completely different. Yeah. Greg's opinion on Matt Rule is going to have him hear what he's just explained. My opinion on Matt Rule is going to have me hear he's got three things that he realizes as a staff they need to fix. And if it's all three things that went wrong, which they did, that can't just be like, that's what we talked about last year. If you have everybody missing tackles, then it's not on the players, it's on the coaching. Same thing here.
I think, and this is what he's saying. Yes, here. Well, let's listen to it one more time.
Did he say that specifically?
Yeah. Yes, he says that, and we'll listen to it one more time. And this is only a clip too. There's, obviously more to these answers. Where is my damn scene? Here we go. Rule. All right, here we go. Here's Rule one more time.
This wouldn't sting any worse, just kind of how the game ended and how it ended compared to some of the other one possession losses.
No, I mean, I think they all bother you the same. I mean, this one frustrates me because I've always been very honest with the guys. If they came in and thought, hey, we didn't play hard enough, we didn't play well enough, we didn't do this, that one, I feel like all the things we're talking about here it falls back on us as a staff. So, we've got to put the ball in the end zone there at the end and end the game, or we've got to stop them, or we've got to, make that field goal. And so, in that game, we missed the field, we had a field goal blocked. We missed that field goal. I mean, just not good enough all around. So, instead of pointing fingers, I'd rather just, point the thumb back at me and just say, hey, that's not good enough. Falls back. I mean, that's not like coach speak. I'm disappointed in myself and my staff tonight.
Right,
And that's what I hear.
If his players didn't perform, it is on him that his players did not rise to the occasion.
I think that he's even saying something different. I think he's even saying something even a little bit further than that. And I think this is what CK was alluding to, is that there were too many opportunities to win that didn't go right for it to just be one thing. And when it's that many things, it starts at the top. Right? Is that we weren't either, we didn't practice well enough. And he's saying this is, I would usually come in and say, you guys didn't bring enough energy, if that's what I truly believed. But this was almost, it was defense. Look, the defense couldn't stop these guys at the end of the game at all. Like in the fourth quarter, couldn't stop anything. Right? So it's on the defense, and it's on Snow, and it's on the players there, and it's on the set, right? That's on, and that's on Rule. And then the offense couldn't score at all today. That's on Brady and Rule and the players, right? And so I do like that. I just hear a different message there than what some of the things that we were hearing from Teddy Bridgewater. And then my favorite part of this podcast, of the post game. And this is why I could listen to Rule all day long. This is Rule. The press conference guy says we only got 2 questions left. Time for 2 more questions. This is Rule's response.
All right, guys, only time for 2 more. So let's go to Jonathan Alexander and then close up with Joe first.
This feels like the type of day I should answer all the questions. So if anybody has questions, I'm going to answer them.
Matt, how do you?
Oh, that's badass.
How do you learn how to win?
Okay.
Hold on. We got to do it again. Sorry. This is awesome.
I mean, respectfully, I don't know that that's like. Come on. I just think like you have to just go make 1 or 2 more plays. You know what I mean, Jonathan? Like we just got to do 1 or 2 things better. And I think that again today, like you always have to go back and figure out where the issues are. And that was I
got to get better at restarting these videos.
All right, guys, only time for 2 more. So let's go to Jonathan Alexander and then close up with Joe first.
This feels like the type of day I should answer all the questions. So if anybody has questions, I'm going to answer them.
Matt, how do you? How do you learn how to win?
I don't know about that question. I mean, I don't know that that's like.
What did he say? What was it?
I just think like you have to just go make 1 or 2 more plays.
So
you know
listen,
what I mean,
it's
like,
the best part of the whole thing.
I'll answer your question, but then the first one, I don't know.
Guys, only time for 2 more. So let's go to Jonathan Alexander and then close up with Joe first.
This feels like the type of day I should answer all the questions. So if anybody has questions, I'm going to answer them.
Matt, I'm just curious. How do you learn how to win?
I don't know about that question. I mean, I respectfully, I don't know that that's like. I just think like you have to just go make 1 or 2 more plays.
And this I like Rule a lot in his press conference. I could listen to him all day. One of the things I really like about him is that he remembers people's names. I know that's a small thing, but that's a big deal for a reporter. If you remember, it's like, hey, Jonathan. And that's a new reporter for the Observer. He will ask them to clarify their questions. I like that. Instead of letting them kind of bait you into saying something, he'll be like, what do you really mean by that? And then he'll ask. So they were trying to bait him into saying is about Christian McCaffrey, is he worth it? Or have you realized, missing him with 9 games, how much he's worth? Mm-hmm. And he was like, well, what do you mean by worth? Like, and he followed up on them. So I like that, which means I think what he's doing is he knows that he wants to know what you're asking him rather than what he thinks you're asking him. So I like that. Yeah. And then the third thing I do like in this moment, even though that was just funny that he did that, I don't know about that question. How do you learn how to win? Is that like, I mean, he didn't really have he didn't have a good answer for it. And then he goes on to respectfully say, look, I'm not trying to demean the question. I just look at it a little differently. And he said later on, he was asked Monday, about his, why did he feel like he'd say, I'll answer all the questions. And he said, look, like, you guys got jobs to do. We have to sit up here, and part of my job is to kind of speak to the fan base into this. I thought it was a cool moment. Like, I feel like today is one of the days that I'll answer questions till you don't got any more.
Yeah.
Except for that one.
I mean, I didn't hear that until you played it. I love that about him, man. Listen, as I said even before this season, it was going to be really hard for Matt Rule or Joe Brady or Phil Snow to really get me in my emotions about them, good or bad. I mean, I'm just not going to, cut the heads off of coaches. One, during their first year in the NFL, everyone's brand new. And to do it during COVID, do all these crazy protocols and not having to have the amount of time necessary before the season. I mean, it is less than ideal circumstances to walk into. Mm-hmm. Yet I have all these instances of Matt Rule doing things that I feel like a leader should be doing. And, Tyler Lovato, he's in a chat room. He says, do you guys not missed opportunities? And let me tell you what, hell no, brother. I sure don't. Listen, I know Matt Rule still has to earn a lot of fans' faith and trust. I have confidence that he'll be able to do that. And listen, man, I'm liking our new head coach. I really do feel like a lot of people are starting to take notice. Regardless of what they think about Bridgewater, people are starting to look at Carolina as a legitimate football team to watch the next few years because of what Matt Rule has done this season.
Can we assume this coaching staff is mad at Teddy Bridgewater? I mean, listen, the reason I say that.
Disappointed.
There we go. I like that answer better. I think they are disappointed because the reality is they saw exactly what we saw and they heard exactly what we heard. And most of the people that I've seen react to the Teddy Bridgewater interview, to react to Matt Rule's interview, there's a clear separation of opinion. Matt Rule is a better person and a better coach and a better NFL professional than Teddy Bridgewater. And Teddy Bridgewater has a lack of accountability. And honestly, more so than like Cam Newton, every time he had a bad game, he said it was on him.
Owned it every time.
Every time. And even when everybody was crushing him for saying he was more of a running back than he was a quarterback, when he had the towel over his head, he took accountability for a lot of things, even when it may not even been his fault. Teddy Bridgewater has yet to take accouldability for anything that was his fault.
By the way, Cam Newton's still doing it, even though his stats were not impressive. Like Carl Van has told me multiple times. But Cam Newton, even after leading a game-winning drive for the Patriots, was still seen apologizing to Josh McDaniels after, even though he put him in a position to win. So, that's what a leader does. That's what a leader does.
And it's going to be a bit controversial. We could have kept Cam and paid less for a quarterback to do the exact same thing that Teddy Bridgewater did.
Right. Again, man.
Without a 3-year contract.
Yeah, it goes back to the organization that decided to pay these players specifically over the players that they chose not to pay and extend. So it's all connected, man.
Cody, y'all talking about that brings me back to your point you were making a moment ago about how you see people looking at Carolina as a legitimate football team, but based on what? We've lost more games than last year.
Well, we're
sitting here talking about how the coaching staff and the front office has made horrible decisions. Like, what are people looking at us as a potential legit football team about?
Because
now we're not.
But it's all the stuff that we've said. We're a young football team with brand new head coaches, with a guy who clearly isn't a franchise quarterback, and yet we've still managed to win games that we were not supposed to. Like that
really be in games.
4 games is not really.
Yeah, well, first we shouldn't have.
Out of the realm of being one of the worst in the league,
Yeah, we thought we were going to be 2-14. A lot of us. You were the one saying that we're going to be 7 or 8
and if
games.
we win 6, then we'll be right in between what I thought and what y'all thought.
And I'm going to win. I'm winning the bet right
4,
now.
Excuse me.
The other thing, though, I think it doesn't have to be. I think one thing is we look competent, man. We've been in these games. We had 3 opportunities to win that game. And that's a team that has a quarterback that's getting paid just as much as anybody in the world. They've had their coach in place for several years. We went toe to toe with the champs, with the Chiefs. We went toe to toe with the Saints. we have been in these games and far more prepared than we should be. Now, I want to say this is that and I want to go back to what CK brought up. Are the coaches upset? I say that with Teddy Bridgewater, I said disappointed, and I don't think they're disappointed with him as a person. I don't think they're disappointed with him as a player. I think that if Matt Rule was going to give us an honest answer to that question, CK, I think he would say I was disappointed. He would say I'm disappointed in the type of response Teddy gave. Here is, and hopefully you can, I was trying to find this. I did not have time to clip it up, but I did find it. Here's Matt Rule in response to that very question about Teddy taking more accountability today. He did not hear. This is the way the press conference worked. They were conference calls, so these guys weren't on at the same time. It was Teddy Bridgewater and the media, and then a 5-minute break, and then Matt Rule and the media. Matt Rule did not get to hear what Teddy said. Here's his response to a question by Darren Gant.
Himself, being accountable. How important is it for the quarterback to be the guy leading that charge and talking that way after a game like last night?
Well, I just think it sets a culture of accountability for all of us. I mean, that's really what all of us have to do. You know, I walked into the press conference and walked into the locker room of the team. At the press conference, I said, you know, we lost that game as a head coach. We lost that game as assistant coaches. You say that because that's how you feel and you believe it's right. Then you know, the great teams, the offensive line says, wait a minute, no, I could have done this. The linebacker says, wait a minute, coach, I could have done this, and everybody takes accountability for what they could have done better, and you grow as a team. So I didn't hear what Teddy said, but if he did, you know, then that to me is what leadership is. Leadership is not leading from the back; it's leading from the front. And you know, you lead from the front. You know, when you're out front, you take the most bullets, but you also know that there's people behind you, and so you know, I just think that's what we're trying to build a organization, a franchise where everyone feels responsible for winning. Everyone takes accountability. We enjoy the wins together. We suffer through the losses together, and we win a championship eventually together.
Little tonal difference there to me and Teddy Bridgewater.
A lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I noticed a big difference, and I think it's noticeable to everyone listening. And again, that makes me happy. It makes me happy that someone like Matt Rule is saying the things that I want to hear said in the future for the Carolina Panthers. Whereas Teddy Bridgewater, dude, even if he was saying all the right things, like, I don't want him to be around as a quarterback. A lot of fans don't. So him saying the wrong thing, like, it's just adding more fuel to the fire for me and others who are like, okay, well, now we have another reason not to like your ass, and we want to move on from you.
Well, that's been the thing with Teddy for me, and this is why I said the game, and I thought this was, if I had one good point in the post-game show, I thought it was that Teddy really didn't play any differently than he always plays, except for that the completion percentage wasn't there. There was still the lack of deadliness in the end zone. There was the inability to, you know, really just put up points at times. And Teddy, usually, all the things that he does well is doesn't turn the ball over, gets the ball out quick, and is pretty accurate. When he doesn't do what he's best at, then it really shows what type of quarterback he is. And that's kind of to follow on your point, Cody, is him not being the steady Teddy even in the press conference. Just because he didn't say it with frustration or with an attitude or something doesn't mean that, like, I just thought his strength was not to be that guy.
Yeah. I mean,
interesting.
None of his strengths are really enough to warrant him either being paid that money or him playing at the position that he plays as a starter. So,
all right, so
I don't know, man. I feel like we knew all this before the season started, and go ahead.
Yeah, I think
I'll say.
Okay, all right, y'all go ahead.
Okay, I have a guy at work who is a huge Panthers fan. He's just started listening to our show. A really cool guy, man, and he has an opinion on Teddy. And he loves Teddy. He understands everybody's gripes with him and everything, and he makes a fair argument about it. And he's talking about how he loves Teddy because he loves the quarterback that has it up here and has the smarts and the know-how to do what he's doing. And while I agree, I think Teddy, that's where Teddy excels over what I would say compared to a Kyle Allen. It doesn't really matter if the production doesn't. Like if you're football smart, that's great. I can be on the field and be football smart. That doesn't mean I can throw the ball down the field or push the ball down the field. And that opens up your offense. And that's what we're, Cody, you were talking about before. PJ Walker may not be a better quarterback, but he has a higher ceiling because he has the ability to do more things. Teddy Chris defends this guy. This guy defends Teddy very well with what he's saying. And I understand what he's saying, but I don't understand. I'm just tired of dealing with settling for almost being good.
Yeah.
Somebody said in the chat room earlier, it feels like we've been almost good for about 3 or 4 years. Every year we have about 5 or 6 games that we almost win. I'm just tired of that, man. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to be a better team.
Well, let's move on to a different subject. We flogged the Teddy Bridgewater discussion into the ground this year so far. Panthers placed rookie defensive end Yetur Gross-Matos on the reserve COVID list. He's really been starting to say, he's really starting to show out a little bit, I feel like, and starting to come into his own. He struggled with some injury this year a little bit, nicked up at one point. Second player this season on the COVID protocol for the Carolina Panthers. The first was Rasul Douglas. It does say teams may not disclose whether a player has tested positive for COVID or whether he is quarantining because of close exposure to someone who has tested positive. I'm guessing that since the bye's in here, that's going to give maybe him enough time to get back if he can demonstrate that he's either asymptomatic and get a clean test, or maybe even just has enough time to pull out the whole quarantine. Be close, right? It'd be close. I don't know if he could get a full 2 weeks in if that's the mandate.
It helps that we have the bye. I mean, from everything I've seen from college players to NFL players, I think it might be like 4 or 5 days, and you have to have, I think, 2 negative tests in that time period, I think. So, I mean, he certainly has time. And I think Denver's offensive line is kind of depleted right now anyway. But all of their COVID quarterbacks should be coming back. So they'll be back in time to burn our linebacking core and corners.
I saw this. Where did it go? Robbie Anderson was the second fastest player in the NFL on Sunday. Ran 21 miles an hour on that play. He's sneaky fast, dude. He doesn't even look like he's running fast. I think all those people didn't think there was a chance he had it to the end zone. They were like, oh, shit, this dude is fast. So there's that in the news, and that's it. Is there anything else newsworthy to talk about when it comes to the Carolina Panthers?
Go
ahead.
I was just going to say, if you guys haven't gone and looked at the NFL or Good Morning Good Morning Football, Kay Adams has made her declaration that Jeremy Chin is the defensive rookie of the year, and it's not even close.
I agree.
But what's just funny is
Chase
that
Young
nobody else agrees. Dude, I went and watched. I was right before the game. The day before the game, I went and looked today, and there is nothing mentioning him being the favorite outside of Carolina Panthers and then Kay Adams. And I went and looked, and people are sitting there talking about how quarterbacks have been having a field day against Chin, and like he allows over 100 QBR. And I'm like, I don't.
PFF has been down on him too, man.
Yeah, and with reality is where he plays so versatile positions. I don't think I have yet to see every time there's a big play. I've yet to see it be on Chin except for maybe a few times. I see Chin always there to wrap to close on close out the play, and he's never it's rare that I see him on the wrong side of a play. So I feel like that's even inaccurate. But Nonetheless, they had him number 5 on the list of defensive rookies of the year. They had number 1, the cornerback out of Indianapolis, who has, I think, 2 interceptions or something like that, and like 24 tackles. I'm sitting here thinking, Jeremy Chin has like 80 tackles
did that
this
Sunday.
year. What is it?
Jeremy Chin did that on Sunday, basically.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, exactly. And he has more tackles, and he does more, and like he has not been embarrassed. Like the Colts got embarrassed against the Titans. So I don't know. I just call me crazy, but I don't know about that other guy. But to sit there and say, like, in that same article, he's shown some promise, but quarterbacks have been having a field day against Jeremy Chin. I'm like, articles like that are the reason that he wouldn't get Defensive Rookie of the Year, because people aren't actually watching his tape.
Yeah. Tony, do you want to do some cat calls before I do my GM list?
Yeah, we're going to go to that.
Okay.
I wanted to bring up this is everybody's probably going to say Chase Young. Chase Young, number 2 overall.
He's good,
pick.
but I don't think that
4.5
been
sacks. 4.5 sacks. That's what he's got. 4.5 sacks. I mean, that's good.
Jeremy Chin's got 14 points.
That game alone is the only time it's ever been done in the history of the football, right? I mean, that back to back, and then it hasn't been done just in general since 1943, I believe it was, something like that Greg brought up. So, the number's 252-228-5098. Let's your voice be heard on the C3 Panthers podcast, and let's get into these catcalls.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty you shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like...
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his notebook? Who's that kid that can use one?
What's up, fellas? Zach, I didn't have a chance to call in because we got some family stuff going on, but God fucking damn it, man. Listen, I've been a Panthers fan my whole life. I'm only 25, so I'm on the younger side, but God fucking damn it. It's been a rough life as a football fan. This team just always finds a way to fucking disappoint, but God damn it, it's just getting hard to watch at this point. I mean, it's entertaining, I guess. Like, the games are close, we're competitive, but just watching us every fucking Sunday find a way for Teddy to fuck us up is getting real fucking old. And I always say, I love this team. They're my guys, and they are. And I still think, we probably have a bright future, but I'm just waiting for them to do something, man. Turn this around. I'm sick and tired of watching this bullshit. I've watched it my whole goddamn life, with the exception of 2015, pretty much. But anyway, let's just hope they get better, man. Hope something happens this offseason. All right, fellas, I appreciate what you do. Have a good one.
Have patience, my friend. We're here for you. Get on the couch, vent your frustrations, and remember this. You could be a Browns fan. You could be a Jags fan. You could be a Falcons fan. That's just as disheartening. Imagine having good players and really sucking.
You could be a fan of any of the teams in the NFC East.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. And speaking of the team we blanked in the Detroit Lions 2 weeks ago, there's a real story, a sad story if you're a fan. They have only made the playoffs like one time in 30 years, it feels like. We are sort of blessed. I know it's hard at this moment. We've had some down years since 2018, 2019, and this rebuild year is difficult. But at least the games are watchable, man. Right? And that's where I am excited about this squad. 252-228-5098.
Hey, guys. Josh from Mass. Couldn't
Well,
compose
Josh.
myself enough yesterday to make a reasonable call, and I feel like it's time for a reasonable one. Well, at least some of the time it is. But anyway. Yeah, I'm glad to see a lot of people starting to come around and really just grasp what Teddy is. Okay? And I get it. People want to put stuff on Joe Brady, whatever. I think there's reasons for Joe Brady calling the plays that he calls. And I think the reality is unfortunately he believes that this team has got it to run the offense that he's calling. The pieces aren't there. Well, most of the pieces are there. The quarterback is not. He's calling plays as if he's got, a top shelf quarterback back there, and he doesn't. And I don't know if that's maybe him trying to show Matt Rule, hey, I know this kid ran a similar system to what I've done last year in NOLA, but he ain't it. He's not Drew Brees. He's not Matt Ryan. He's not Cam Newton. He's not even Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's just not. He's a backup. And that's what it is. Okay. And yet the DJ Moore injury, I agree with damn near everybody who's got a clue. That's on Teddy. That's on Teddy. I'm sorry. You can't just throw the ball that badly and leave it on the receiver to make up the difference. Like it's your job as a quarterback is to put the ball where the receiver and the receiver only can get it. And that just didn't happen. That just wasn't the case. We have a situation where defense puts up 14 points and the offense doesn't play complementary football with that. And you go, well, the defense let up that score at the end of the game. Yeah, but they basically blanked them for the middle half of the game. The more than the middle half of the game, they did a pretty good job. Especially for what they're working with. And to see them start coming back around, and I get it, Phil Snow's defense at times looks suspect, but I think it's a situation where he's calling plays for the defense that he wants to have as far as personnel versus the defense that he does have. And it's ugly at times, but I think it's the only real way you get a picture of what's wrong with the team.
Lot of love for Josh from Mass in the chat room. So much so, Josh called back again.
It's Josh again. Sorry about that. I was kind of rudely interrupted. Rather
by my work phone.
Call. Somebody looking to get at me about my car's extended warranty.
Welcome to life.
Anyways, I think that's a lot of what's going on. I think our coordinators, our coaching staff are doing things as if they already have the team built to run what they want to run. And while it's ugly right now, I think that's kind of a way to figure out where you stand and what you need, because there's not really another way to figure out what you're going to need out of the draft or free agency or what have you. And there's some pretty obvious things that we need. And there's some of them that absolutely need to be addressed in the draft and not in free agency, because it's ungodly money to address some of those positions. And one of them we've already spent a stupid amount of money addressing, and the answer isn't there, not even with $21 million each year. So I think that's really what's going on. We've seen some promise from some players, and that's great. And it's been said before, we don't need great players at every level all over the place. You need a couple of greats with guys, along with some guys who just don't suck. Really is what it is. You need guys who can play fundamental football, and then you need a couple standouts. And that's really, really it. And if you can get beyond that, great, because that just moves the needle even more. But we're not at that point. We're not even an average team as far as our record, but you look at the talent and the flashes that are happening here and there, and they are plentiful. We do get to see some bright spots every week, it seems. And the games are by and large interesting and competitive. But I think it's already been more than we could have asked for. And there's just one more glaring spot, and I pray that it gets addressed. I really do. And we all know what I'm talking about. It's too much money. It's too much money for the performance that we're getting. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even sorry. I don't know why I'm apologizing. Probably because there's a bunch of Teddy homers who are going, this guy's wrong, and they're going to jump on me. They're here on Twitter or on Facebook or whatever, but it's like, let it go. The man is.
I don't
not
even
the
think it's
answer.
the amount of money. Is
No.
that at this point it's just performance and ceiling and ability overall. What's the silver lining, guys, so far in this season? And not the silver lining of what we saw and what we're surprised from. What's the silver lining going forward for this team? My thoughts on this are, I think that Sunday, potentially, and maybe if we continue to get some of this similar play and some of these similar challenges that we saw with this offense going forward, I think the silver lining is that maybe Joe Brady and the coaching staff and Marty Herney or whoever the GM is in the future with the owner are seeing that what we're lacking on this team is explosiveness on offense at the quarterback position and really explosiveness, the ability to pressure the quarterback on defense consistently. So, like, to me, I'm starting to get to the point where those are the two most important things to fix going forward, and then always throw in there the offensive line. Maybe they're learning that Greg Little isn't the answer, or they've already learned that. What's the silver lining coming out of these struggles, guys?
For me personally, the silver lining is I feel like our owner got the coaches right. And I really do feel that way. And I like what I see from this small sample size of Matt Rule and Joe Brady and Phil Snow, man. I know people want to bitch at Phil Snow. I argue that he has done a smash-up job for what he's working with on the defensive side of the football. This is by far the worst linebacking core that the Panthers have ever had. It's a really bad defensive backfield filled with a bunch of guys that we really didn't even intend to be starters this year. And yet, as I said earlier, in the face of all of that, we have been competitive. There have been 6 or 7 games where it's only been one score or less. That
every game except for one has been one score.
Yeah, so it's all of those, man. We brought the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, we gave them a fight, man. We gave them all they could handle, and they're probably still right now the best team in football.
Yeah.
I mean, this team has fight. This team has fight, and in my opinion, that's the silver lining. On top of it, also showing everyone that the decision makers making the decisions to pay quarterbacks are not doing a good job. And the quarterback that we have is also not doing a good job. So, yeah, there's a lot of silver lining, in my opinion.
I feel like a good one that isn't immediate, but we are much closer to being a complete team than we should be. We are right now, there are mainly, let's say, 4 key pieces that we need to have a quality player at. And honestly, 4 players, I think. You need to get a good linebacker, a good cornerback, and then a good offensive line, left tackle. If you can shore up at least part of both sides of the line, I think that helps tremendously. Because you're not putting so much pressure on one side. It allows there to be some things that get shored up a little bit. And then the most important is a quarterback. Now, I think you can do 3 of those things in the draft, and that is linebacker, maybe a good cornerback, and the quarterback. I think you need to go to the open market for the offensive line, just because I don't think we're going to get a quality offensive lineman because we're going to go quarterback in the first. We have to. I don't see any other scenario where we don't if we're picking as high as we are right now.
I think it takes two. I think the one problem too with I don't know where the music's coming from.
I got it. Hang
on. I think the one thing with offensive line, I agree with you, CK, is that if we went and got a top fleet left tackle next year, like in the draft, if we got the number 1 left tackle, he wouldn't be good enough quick enough to immediately make us 5 or 6 games better.
Oh, but you don't know that. You don't.
It
know
would
that.
help,
You
but
don't
no,
know that.
I can promise you this: is go back and look at the history of left tackles taken in the top 5 picks, and 1 or 2. It takes there's even an adjustment period for them.
Yeah,
That's
but
all
you're
I'm
still
saying.
doing
There
this
is-
thing where like you're judging it based off of what was. Like players now.
Well,
these
sometimes
middle school
I'm a
and high school
historian,
kids-
homie, dude. I'm a historian. I'm going to look back and try to find evidence based on that. And I'm just simply saying this, is that rarely does that guy come in and be the number 1 left tackle in the league. Is he going to be an asset to you in a couple of years, or even by the end of the season? Is he going to be an upgrade immediately? Certainly. But I do think this is that going and getting a left tackle, like say you got the top free agent left tackle, say there was a good one. They've already been through that period in their career. I'm just saying this, you can only raise up so many pups at one time. You need to have a couple of dogs in with you right away.
True. That's absolutely true. However, the Buccaneers just drafted Tristan Wirfs, and that guy is one of the best tackles in football right fucking now, man. Like this is when I evaluate talent. This is my tried and true stance. I never evaluate a player based on what another man who came before him couldn't do. Because now I'm not talking about that football player anymore. I'm talking about Jake Matthews or some other asshole that failed for a myriad of different reasons. Either he went to the wrong team or, whatever. There could be a number of different things that leads to a player being a boom or a bust early in the draft. The point being, you take the player that's going to make you a better football team right now. And if you're able to build a young, powerful, dynamic offensive line that can run block, that can pull block, that can pass protect. I mean,
I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to it.
For a long time.
I'm not either.
I'm not opposed to it. I'm just saying this is that I don't know if it's as plug and play. The point that CK brought up is that we are 4 pieces away. Right, is from being really good. And I do think that I think that the Panthers need a left tackle for the future, and I'm 100%. But my question is this: if you got 4, are you that excited about the left tackle that you would pick that guy over your Zach Wilson boy?
Well, no.
Okay, then you agree a little bit to my point.
But that's not what I'm talking about, though. So if you don't have a quarterback, it doesn't matter if this guy is the next Tyron Smith for Dallas. Like, it doesn't matter. If you don't have your quarterback, then you're dead on arrival. However, if we didn't have to worry about a quarterback, based on what I've seen, Penei Sewell is as much of a lock on the offensive line as Quentin Nelson was coming out of Notre Dame. And look at what he's done for the Colts.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get us to draft offensive line forever.
Greg, I wanted to at least say this with regard to the quarterback. So if we have an opportunity to draft a quarterback that is considered a top 10 quarterback in the draft this year, and we do not draft that quarterback, and we go forward believing Teddy Bridgewater is going to be the answer, we will be setting back we possibly could be setting back our organization at least 5 or 6 years.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Like, here's the reality. Because if let's say we do add the offensive line, and then we add some good pieces on defense. Well, guess what? If your quarterback is still a game manager, we might be able to be a positive team, 9-7, 10-6, maybe, but we're not going to get to the chip. We're not going to get to the Super Bowl with that. Mm-hmm. And the problem with that is we're not going to be able to draft a quarterback that's a high quality quarterback at the draft positions that we'd be talking about. Now, it's not impossible. I mean, you see people such as Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers and things like that go later in the draft, even Lamar Jackson, for instance. But it's still at its core, it's unlikely to be able to get a franchise quarterback that it's almost a once in a lifetime opportunity to get one that's going to last you an entire decade.
Well, and another thing is you have to ask yourself, how many times as an organization do you intend to be picking in the top 10? Do Panther fans want to go Do
In the last,
Panther
5 years,
right, but okay, but this is what I'm saying though. Like, if you're trying to build an upward trajectory, if you have a top 10 pick, then why do you want to waste time and not draft a quarterback? Like, especially in that top 10, if you have a potential game changer at the quarterback position that you can draft, why not take him when you're in a position to do so? Like, why would you want to have to either move up or hope that one of the lesser quarterbacks falls into your hands and ends up being the next Russell Wilson or Tom Brady or whatever? Like, the chances of that happening are slim to none. I would much rather we used our high-end pick on a high-end quarterback while we have the chance.
Mm-hmm.
Another point about that, Cody, too, is I don't agree with that statement entirely in a vacuum. And what I mean, in a vacuum alone, that statement, there's some things I could disagree. And what I mean by that is that I do think there's plenty of opportunities where you have a top 10 pick and you say you think you got a guy at quarterback that could be the answer. You've invested at a quarterback and he might be suffering with injury and you're hoping he's going to come back. So I think there are some situations where that's not true, or maybe not 100% a lock. But in accordance and agreement with your statement, when you take into account some of the past history of what the team and the organization has done and where they haven't invested, it's not like we've invested in the quarterback over and over and over. And now we're like, oh, well, we're here again. Now we're going to do it again. No, that's not the point. And what I mean by that is that we've had plenty of opportunities. We've had 2 drafts in the last 4 years that we've been in the top 10. And we didn't invest in an offensive line in those picks or a quarterback. So at some point, you're going to have to make the investment. Right? Like at some point, the investment has to come. And that's where I do think it lends in this situation to exactly where your point makes a ton of sense. The other question I have for you, a follow-up question, and we got to keep going through the calls, but with that lack of investment at that position, the lack of investment that we've had in the offensive line in high-end picks over the last decade, in retrospect, does that make picks like Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore more questionable? Or maybe not questionable. I don't know how I'm trying to phrase this, is that like you're in the top 6 or 7, you got the 7th pick and you pick a running back when you have an offensive line that's been a shit show for years. You have a shit show offensive line, and you go and pick a wide receiver in DJ Moore. And I like DJ Moore. Like, this is not a referendum as him as a player, but that is raw. That's taken some time.
More to get the offensive line.
When are we going to invest in the offensive line? And when are we going to, at some point, is it going to be too late?
I've been wanting to do it for years. I mean, telling me and you were both chanting, build that wall. And no, we weren't talking about the orange dude in the White House. We were talking about trying to build a fucking wall around Cam Newton. And Dave Gettleman and Marty Herney both failed to do so. The reason why I'm even more hesitant going forward is because I have seen Marty Herney recently make for one, he made one terrible decision with a premium offensive line pick. But now we have rumors that he might be about to make another bad move on our offensive line. And it just, listen, I don't know when you want me to jump into this, but Marty Herney has to go for the future of our franchise.
Ooh, before you get to that, before we go to the next call, I want to get my silver lining in because it kind of ties into that, Cody.
Yeah.
My silver lining this year is the fact that we drafted all defensive players and our defense looks like it's starting to click. It looks like Jeremy Chin, Gross Matos are going to work out. Derek Brown's not bad. He's not what I expected him to be or hope for him to be, but hopefully he can develop into that, but he's not bad. Brian Burns is looking good. We got a young, good defense, all drafted by Marty Herney. So there you go, Cody.
When I'm, listen,
There you go, Cody.
I'm waiting for Tony to give me the signal to unleash the hounds because
All right,
I have my ammo. I'm fucking ready. Y'all just let me know when I need to shoot my shots.
We're gonna get
I'm
to
curious,
it soon.
what's the rumor?
Oh yeah, tell them about the rumor.
So shout out to the Sports Nut on Twitter. He's been doing a good job at keeping me in the loop on this. Apparently, someone asked the Roaring Riot, and again, this is all just rumors, so this is nothing confirmed. But the Roaring Riot members seem to believe that there are no plans to re-sign Taylor Moton, and apparently WFNZ reached out to Roaring Riot and pretty much confirmed that to them. So, by the way, this is the third week in a row that Taylor Moton did not allow a single pressure. I'll say that one more time if we have any hearing disabled people in our chat room. Taylor Moton did not give up a pressure for 3 weeks in a row, and our piece of shit general manager doesn't seem to think there's value in that building a football team going forward.
I don't even know how it's possible to not think that has to be done. You're going to not have a left tackle going for Okung. Well, he hasn't even played, right? So you're working these other guys that have been, just cycling in. Dennis Daly being a 5th or a 6th round pick or something. Got a bad penalty. I thought that it was a bad call. I thought they were tangled up, and that's why he fell on that guy in that game. But you're losing Okung, who you brought in and who has been starting when healthy. And you're trying to tell me, how could we possibly go into the season next year with that many questions and forcing an additional question when it comes to not signing Taylor Moton? I think if you look at what this offensive line has done, I don't know if they got a sack on Teddy Bridgewater on Sunday. They have been competent, and Taylor Moton has been a standout, or at least according to all the metrics. The number's 252-228-5098. We're going to get through this next calls. It's 2 3-minute calls back to back, and then when these calls are done, I'm going to have Cody unleash the hounds and tell us why we need to fire Marty Herney. Not only why we should fire him, but who we should hire. And he has a list, guys, 5 people coming down the pipe of people that he thinks could be the next GM to get it right in Carolina. 252-228-5098.
Hold on to
guys,
your butts.
What's up? I called in on Sunday, and I had a passionate rant about the game. Y'all hyped me up, said it was one of the best calls y'all have had, which assured me that I'm not fucking insane, all right? Now, this one's going to be a little more calm, but I think a little more controversial. All right, I'm tired of the PJ Walker disrespect, okay? Everybody says, we need to tank for a quarterback. We need to tank for a quarterback. What has PJ Walker shown you that he doesn't deserve a shot to be a starting quarterback? I mean, in the XFL, he showed he had a great arm. He can throw down the field. He can fucking throw on the run. He can even get fucking rushing yards. I mean, he's already been in the system for a year. You don't know how Luke Wilson's going to fucking work in the system this year. And, hold on, guys.
He says he has a brain fart for 20 or 30 seconds, but he gets it together.
Well,
Matt Rule coached him in college, and fucking, I don't see why this guy doesn't deserve a shot, okay? Luke Wilson, this is a legitimate question because I haven't seen Luke Wilson. What's one thing that Luke Wilson can do that PJ Walker hasn't shown us he can do? Every single mistake that PJ Walker made on Sunday against the Lions was fixable from coaching, experience, and practice. I mean, he has all the intangibles to be a franchise quarterback, and nobody seems to think he has a shot. Nobody wants to give him a chance. I mean, what better time to start him than right now? We play the football team. We play the Packers, the Saints, and somebody else. We play good teams at the end of the season. We can really get a good grasp on if this guy's the future. And if he plays well enough to where, hey, Let's take a chance on this guy. We could use that first rounder to finally solidify that left tackle position that we've been looking for since Jordan Gross left. I mean, I'm all for spending a first rounder on an offensive lineman if he's that dude. If he's that dude, I'm down for it. I mean, I just don't know why he deserves a shot. And I'm not hating on Luke Wilson, but I think P.J. Walker could be the future of this team. I believe that since I started watching it, since they drafted him. I believe that when I first started watching him, he was that dude, all right? He's got a shot to be a legitimate quarterback, and I'm tired of the disrespect, okay? All right. Marty Herney, all right? Oh, hold on, one more thing. Fucking PJ Walker can develop a fucking relationship with a number one receiver, unlike goddamn Teddy Bridgewater. He did it with Cam Phillips, and he did it with DJ Moore against the Detroit Lions. All right, moving on. Fucking Marty Herney. Okay.
I love this
You can say
he's I feel the passion, dude. We're going to the next call, but let's address the first point real quick. The first point is the PJ Walker disrespect.
Yeah.
This is a tough question for me, right?
Yeah.
It's a tough question for me because you don't want to over glow and get too excited about something just because of a single game. The XFL performances were more impressive than anything. Is that he was having these games where people were calling little Patrick Mahomes of the XFL. He is throwing from these odd arm angles, baseball style, on the run, downfield. They had this very explosive offense. I think he was with the Houston Roughnecks or something like that.
Renegades or something.
Yeah, and I might be talking AAF or AFL or whatever the fuck it was. At this point, I've already put it in my rearview mirror. I think the one thing is I like the idea of PJ Walker having an opportunity and a real shot. Yeah. That's what I like, is a real shot. But I don't know how many times people believe there's a legitimate and adequate time to give someone a real shot. And what I mean by that is, do you wait a whole season and you kind of bank on, well, we could really maybe go with PJ next year? And I think he brought this point up, and I know, Cody, you were leading the charge on this. That's why if that is something you believe could be, if you believe PJ Walker could be a serviceable or better than serviceable starter in the NFL, we need to find that out, what his capability, and see how he improves week to week now. Not a whole season of it and then back to square one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, listen, so one, shout out to Civil Peach 881 in the chat room. Thank you for the call, man. And dude, I hear you, man. And Tony just said it. I was leading the charge. Listen, I don't know that PJ Walker is our future because I haven't seen enough evidence for it. But one of the things I definitely wanted was to see more evidence. I mean, listen, as someone that has been avidly on the team tank to get a quarterback, even I said, you know what? Fuck it, dude. Let's see what kind of talent we have in PJ Walker. He's obviously more willing to take attempts down the field and throw the football and try and hit DJ Moore in stride and hit Curtis Samuel in the back of the end zone. He obviously has the willingness to do that. But, we're shackled by a $21 million a year quarterback that we signed thinking he was going to be the answer. So the sad truth of the matter is, Peach, PJ Walker probably isn't going to have a chance to prove that he is a franchise quarterback. And that's disappointing, man. I'm disappointed with you on that because I felt that PJ deserved a chance. He deserved a chance to at least show the football team that he had something, that we might have been able to make a late playoff push with a more dynamic quarterback under center. But that isn't what happened. So and now that we're not going to have enough time to evaluate him, it's hard for me to then endorse him in the future and say that, oh, well, PJ will be our answer next year. I don't know that. I wanted to see him play more, and we're not going to see that.
I like this pay tag.
Okay.
I like this Pate hashtag that 44 Rose saying Pate Lamotin. Yeah.
Greg, what are you saying?
I'll say, how sick is it going to make you whenever we get rid of PJ Walker and he goes to like Jacksonville or somewhere like that and just lights it up, and we're stuck with Teddy Bridgewater?
It would be the most.
Yeah.
It would not be a surprise.
Yeah,
It would not be a surprise.
They give us a 3rd round pick for PJ Walker, and we blow it on a wide receiver that never does anything.
There is still opportunity to see what PJ has. There's going to be 2 opportunities. There's one is there's still the remainder of the season, and there could be an injury to Teddy Bridgewater, or after this bye week, and there's significant regression again, like people brought up, and things that people are saying on the C3 Panthers podcast in the post-game show are becoming narratives. And I'm not saying we are making these statements, but the callers, the conversations we're having in the show right in the immediate aftermath are becoming real living narratives among Panther Nation. All of a sudden, people are now talking about, and not that they weren't, but I just find it's a sort of validation for our fan base, for the people in the chat room, when they are saying things like, well, it looks like Teddy Bridgewater's regressed. And you hear Cody say that on the podcast in the moment, right? So it's not just I like seeing some of those things. So if you see after the bye week, guys, that continued the problems on offense, and we go through another loss, there's 3 games left in the season. There is a chance where this team could start to say, you know what, let's start to give PJ more of a shot to learn more about how he responds to in-game action. Or maybe they send a message to Teddy Bridgewater that way. So there's one opportunity to get a little bit more evidence, Cody. The other opportunity is this, and it's going to be one you don't like. And that is if this team continues to believe that Teddy Bridgewater, we paid him, he gives us the best opportunity to build around at this moment, then that means PJ is going to have an opportunity next year. Like, he will, whether it be injury or performance or something. So that gives that one last shot. But this is the part of the NFL that's the gruesome. This is the gruesome part, or the dirty underbelly of how the system works, and it's just reality. Guys like Damiere Byrd, PJ Walker, these kind of ultimately walk-on players have such limited chances to prove their worth that it's almost a Herculean task. So not only do they ever get any practice or anybody really believes in them because they weren't drafted or this and that, but the only time they do get a chance is when all the odds are stacked against them. So it will be a great story if it does happen. It's just one of those things that, man, when they don't mark you as a starting quarterback coming out of college, it's a hard battle to overcome. And there's really been only like one dude who's ever done it, and that's Kurt Warner. All right, let's get the back end of that call.
All right, guys, now I'm in a rhythm. Now I'm ready to roll. Rough start to the call, but I'm back. Fucking Marty Hurney, all right? Here's the thing, is yes, you take with the good with the bad.
I can
with
feel
drafting.
it
He's
now.
drafted Chins and Burton, he's drafted Greer, Thomas, and some other flops, okay? But I don't want this man signing Burns and Chin to their franchise deals. Does nobody remember what this man was fired for in 2012? He put us in cap hell, and there's no reason why he wouldn't do it again. I mean, they should have fired him before they hired Matt Rule, but it is what it is now. They need to get rid of him this year, or it's only going to get worse. I mean, if you don't believe that he's going to make the same contract mistakes, just look at Teddy Bridgewater. 3 years, $60 million. Everybody's like, oh, that's such a great deal. How good does that fucking deal look now? Okay? He was an okay gap guy. You know, we were kind of at the end of Ron Rivera, at the beginning of Matt Rule. I could understand he was kind of a gap guy, but it's time to move on. And by the way, CK, I would not die on this hill. I heard you say yesterday, I guess you might have been playing devil's advocate, but you said Marty Hurney, you know, they said, what makes Marty Hurney a good GM? Why would he be a good pick? And you said, well, think of every franchise player the Panthers have ever picked, and Marty Hurney's picked that person. And that's a fucking stupid argument. Love
I
the show,
like
love
that
the concept,
argument.
but
I
that's a
like the
dumb
argument
fucking
too.
argument.
It's stupid.
Okay, it's
Sorry.
just by default. That's like saying
Love you,
Jay Cutler
CK.
deserves
Hold on.
the
Let's see what he
starting job
says.
as quarterback with the Bears just because he's the greatest quarterback in Bears history. Just because he's the greatest quarterback in Bears history doesn't mean he doesn't suck, all right? It just means that the Bears suck at picking GMs. The same way the Panthers fucking suck at picking GMs. Dave Gettleman and Marty Herney have accounted for 18 years of this team's GM experience, and it's time to get some fresh blood in there, okay? I heard y'all talking about time management the other day. I'm really not that worried. The whole team's young. I mean, we saw it with the O-line and the D-line. Those take the longest to develop of any position. And with time, they've gotten better and better. And I think you have to remember this coaching staff is young. We just put them together. We're still getting the system together. We're still getting our identity. And I really think this team's going to come together in the next few years. And I think the time management issues will come with time and experience. And I'm not really too worried about that. But it definitely does need to be fixed. Also, I have been keeping on Zach Kerr for a while, and not because I'm a sharp, but because fucking, I saw this video of him and Brian Burns, and he seems like a great team guy, and I've been changing it for a bit, and I'm so fucking glad that he's good, because he really seems like a great guy, great personality, and I'm so fucking glad. Well, possibly, he might not be trash. We'll see. F.A. Obata had a few games last year where we
there's 51 seconds, but I think that left, but I think that's a good time. Right now is that, go ahead, CK, respond to that.
So, and because there's a lot, obviously, I'll just say this real quick. Marty Herney, yes, every player that has been a franchise player in the history of the Panthers has been drafted by Marty Herney. I understand your mindset of that's a stupid argument because because most of these players played for a sucky team doesn't mean they're the greatest player to play at that position. I think that argument is actually not great either, right? Because we know Luke is probably one of the best to ever play the game. Julius is probably one of the best to ever play the game. Steve Smith is probably one of the best to ever play the game. Cam Newton, probably one of the best quarterbacks that's ever played the game.
Not probably. Was. They were.
Yeah. You know, all of these players that have been cornerstones, Jordan Gross, all of these people have been some of the best to ever play the game.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they've been on the Panthers doesn't mean they've been bad players just looking better on a bad team. They've went up against the best players in the NFL and beaten them. You know, that's the part that I would like. That's why I think, you know, we've got to give some credit. Now, I understand the idea of bringing in new blood, right? You know, if you're tired of it, you know, if we had ripped off the Band-Aid and gotten rid of Herney right when, you know, Tepper fired Ron Rivera and just moved on, just got away from
it. That should have been the move.
That I would understand, right? But because then you're just putting all your chips on one table. But right now, we have a good coaching staff. And by getting any of the other GMs that you're talking about, you have a known commodity in Matt Rule, who's been known to build the team up. Right. He has built this team and listen to me here, because we want to sit here and remember back in the time when Dave Gettleman was the GM. We went to 3 back-to-back NFC South titles, and we thought Dave Gettleman was the best on the planet.
I loved him.
And then
I loved
guess
him.
how many?
Retrospect,
guess how long it took for us to change our mind on that? Not long. But guess what? That 2015 team was built up by Marty Herney. That 2007, 2003 team was built up by Marty Herney. Those both went to the Super Bowl and arguably lost because of coaching in a lot of those and just poor execution. So the reality is Marty Herney has been known to build a Super Bowl caliber team. Problem is we haven't had the coaching staff to maintain it over a long period of time.
So
Marty
Herney. Get him.
Marty Herney has built a roster that has went to the Super Bowl one time in his life, and it hasn't been this decade. He had the pieces, but we're also not going to pretend like David Gettleman didn't do anything in the time that he was here.
Okay, who contributed more?
Hold on, we're talking about Marty Herney right now, so listen, I'm going to jump in.
Can I just mention something about CK before we give you the mic forever? About CK's comments. I think there's 2 points about this discussion that CK's brought up and that the caller brought up. Is that there's 2 arguments when it comes to more. It's like this, is that just because if you've only had one piece of pussy your whole life You can't say is that it might be naive to say the best nuts I ever had in my whole life were because this pussy was great. Of course it was, because they're the only nuts you ever got. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that it's not great. So that's my point. I think that's the argument that is going on here a little bit. And then the other thing is that when it comes to Dave Gettleman, and this is, I'm turning back over to you guys, is that I what we kind of find out with a GM is it's kind of like a president. It's more about what happened before you is reflective of what's going on in that time than while you're actually in office. I think Dave Gettleman's best team was actually 2013 because he brought in a bunch of cheap-ass parts on defense, and we had this badass defense with 2 rookies starting at defensive tackle that year. And I think that was his best team. I think, though, that you're right. Marty Herney definitely had that 2005 season and kind of mixed in 2015. All right. The time is here, CK. Why is Marty Herney a bum? Yeah, Cody.
Listen, I'm going to lay it out plainly for everyone why I have been saying forever that Marty Herney should have been fired when David Tepper was rebuilding this organization from the ground up, from the players, from the coaching staff to the people in the front office.
I agree with that.
Here are some of the reasons why Marty Herney needs to be fired. He overpays players at positions that aren't that important. And even when he does pay them, they're not worth the contract that they sign. So let's dive into this. 5 out of 6 of the highest paid players on the roster were paid by Marty recently and are vastly underperforming their contracts. This includes Teddy Bridgewater at $21 million a year, which I don't have to say anymore on. That's what our podcast is about every Tuesday night. Christian McCaffrey at $16+ million a year, who has barely seen the field this year, who has been plagued by injuries, who is at one of the most replaceable positions in football. And what was Marty Herney's MO the first time he was the general manager for the Panthers? Oh, that's right. Overpaying running backs. Okay, so then let's go forward even more. Shaq Thompson has not only not been able to fill the void that Luke left, he hasn't even been able to play up to his own normal performances. Our linebacking core is the worst that it has ever been. And at the time when we have needed Shaq Thompson the most, he has been invisible for a large part of this season. Another thing is that we traded away Trey Turner for Russell Okung. Now, you might say, well, hold on, Trey Turner wasn't doing all that hot when he was over here. Yeah, that's fine. But now you've created a position of need at guard, and you only have Russell for another year or two, and he has barely been on the field for us.
Free cap space out there.
So now we have
Trey Turner, though.
4 positions of need on the offensive line. And on top of that, there are rumors now that he doesn't want to pay the only legitimate offensive lineman on our roster. What the hell are you even talking about, dude?
Rumors, though.
Let's move on to number 2. No.
I wanted to. Okay.
No.
Okay. I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes.
Take notes. Let's move on to number 2. Has demonstrated a history of missing top quarterbacks and offensive linemen in the draft. Okay? Outside of Cam Newton, which I do not give him credit for, that was the first pick in the draft and the best quarterback in the draft, Herney has drafted Will Grier, Jimmy Clausen, Tony Pike, Stephon LaForce. I don't even remember the last 2 dudes. And they weren't important. Jimmy Clausen was a bust. I don't need to remind y'all about Jimmy. And Will Grier has not even come close to sniffing the starting job here in Carolina when he had an opportunity to take over for Cam Newton, Kyle Allen, Teddy Bridgewater, PJ Walker, and hasn't beat out a one of them. And you're going to tell me that this is the man you want picking the future of our franchise? Hell no. On top of that, the man drafted Amani Silatolu, Bruce Nelson, Jeff Ota, and Zachary Williams.
Don't hate on Jeff Ota.
With premium offensive line picks. And none of them have worked out. On top of that, let's jump on to something else. Greg Little. We moved up into the second round to draft Greg Little. All right? Right now, he makes more money than Curtis Samuel, Jeremy Chin, Dante Jackson, and Taylor Moton. And how about that? Greg Little has been a healthy scratch for how many weeks in a row now? Russell Okung has not been able to play for us. And the man you moved up to draft is not a viable starter. And instead you're playing some third or fourth round guy that you might have picked up on waivers somewhere. Like, what this man has proven to not be able to hit on the most important positions when you're building a football team. On top of that, James Bradbury and Mario Addison are having career years this year at positions of need for that the Panthers don't have right now. So look, the man has never proven to consistently hit on his draft picks. He overpays the wrong players, lets the wrong players out the door, and from what we see is already a stepping stone to Matt Rule, who wants to bring in every Baylor player, every Temple player that he's ever played for. The man is a doormat. He has nothing to offer the franchise. I have 5 candidates who we'll get into at some point who I feel would be far better for the Carolina Panthers than what Marty Hurney has been able to do for us. If he was not on the Panthers right now, how many other football teams would be calling that man? None. Not one of them. Not one of them. In the chat room, put # fire Marty if you're on my side, dude. He needs to be fired, bro.
And here you go. I want to counter some of those points, right? Because as you're saying this, I'm writing stuff down to kind of ask you. And you know, like I said, you very well maybe you're better at this than I am. You're better at talent analysis than I am. You're smarter in football, I would say, probably than I am. So, but how can you say that Taylor Moton, the rumor, first of all, which is how we're going to start out with, the rumor that hasn't even made it to any kind of major sports network. So as soon as it makes it to a major sports network, then talk to me about it being real. How can that be? How can that be all Marty Hurney's fault? Isn't Matt Rule the head coach of this team? Isn't he an offensive line guru? Like how can that be?
No,
how can you blame? How can you blame all of that?
Yeah,
he was a former offensive line coach.
An offensive line coach with the Giants.
Yeah, that was the big deal. Everybody's like, he's an offensive line coach.
He's actually coached
he's done everything. That's what he did for the Giants.
But my point is, how can you blame that all on Hurney? You're telling me that Matt Rule has no say in that if it's true.
And really all Marty Hurney said is that he doesn't want to talk about it.
Has been making detrimental decisions for the Carolina Panthers far longer than Matt Rule has.
Okay.
Far longer. But by the way, the most important thing that I'm trying to say here is that, okay, if you want to nitpick some of the hits that he's made, fine. Yeah, Jeremy Chin is looking incredible.
Like, we're not. You're nitpicking, bro. A little bit. And what I mean by that is you gave that Jeff Ota slander.
There is nothing good that Marty Hurney has done that isn't easily replicatable by someone else. Younger and better with player personnel.
Things that stuck out to me on Cody's analysis, and his mind point will be short. Jeff Ota slander not allowed. Man was a beast, bro. Man was a fucking monster, and then injury killed him. Next. No, not so. Is that Bo Jackson? That's well, you can't say so to Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson was the greatest football player ever to live, but he didn't play a long career. because injury derailed it. That doesn't mean he wasn't a good pick. You can't, like you said, you can't be handicapped by the past and this and that.
Double standards.
No, that's not a double standard. Is that you can't allow in.
And it is a bust because he's hurt.
So in that mindset, Luke Kuechly was not a good pick because he didn't play as long as he should have.
And Jeff Otah was a 325-pound man that got a foot injury. And the problem is foot injuries for offensive linemen are terrible. And that's what's happened. I mean, he didn't have an injury history in the past. He came in there and all of a sudden our offense was road grading motherfuckers. He was awesome. Go back and watch it. You can't blame a bad pick because a guy ended up having an injury problem that he couldn't overcome. That would be saying that Bo Jackson was a bad pick. And Bo Jackson was the greatest football player to ever live, arguably. And he only could play like 5 or 6 years. That's the problem. The next thing I want to nitpick is this crap. Mario Addison having a career year? What?
And
4 sacks at 30-something years old? 21. He got 4 tackles for loss? Bum. Bum.
Addison. Who drafted Addison?
He was undrafted.
He was a free agent.
He's an undrafted free agent. He's actually. So other than that, no Otah slander.
The point being, if you want to name all of the picks that Marty Herney has hit on, and then space them out and how few and far in between.
With some negative picks too, though.
Put that as a platform as to why he should have a job. You can do that with almost any GM. There are GMs that have good picks, but I have pointed out to you, not just on a drafting level, but on an organizational level, that the people that he has hired as general manager. How about this? Didn't he also hire Ryan Vermillion? Wasn't Ryan Vermillion the team doctor that we want to bitch at all the time for mismanaging how they handle Cam Newton and Luke Kuechly's injuries? But that was another guy that was hired by him, if I'm not mistaken. Okay.
He also technically hired Marty Herney. Hired Matt Rule.
The general no, he didn't. Fucking David Tepper did.
Then why you can't use that same logic, and you can't assume that he hired everybody.
Tepper,
right? Right. You can't assume he hired all the bad people, and it was only his fault.
There is nothing that any of you are going to be able to say
because you're not listening.
To make him want to say something to prove that he is worth the future at this position.
I hear you. Well, listen to this real quick. Hold on, real quick, CK, because I'm trying to get this one out. Luke Kuechly getting injured and changing the game plan up of the offensive, of the defensive position and where we're going to go. You can't blame that on Herney. Okay, you can't say, well, he couldn't fill the hole with Shaq Thompson, who was supposed to fill the hole of Luke Kuechly, maybe the greatest linebacker of all time, which, by the way, nobody's going to be able to fill just automatically with somebody on the team. So come on, man, you can't blame the loss of Luke Kuechly and not being able to fill that hole on Herney. That's not his fault. It was an injury. He drafted the best linebacker possibly of all time.
I'm blaming Marty Herney for paying him $13.6 million a year instead of paying Taylor Moton the money that he should have gotten last year at one of the
No. Shaq was signed 2 years ago.
Football. Hey. I'm talking about Taylor Moton. The fact that we let James Bradbury go, and James Bradbury has been getting interceptions and has been lights out for the Giants. The fact that we have we paid Shaq Thompson all that money, and he hasn't barely done anything for us. He paid a running back the highest paid running back money in football.
I'll talk to you about
and I love Christian, but he hasn't done anything for us after getting paid all that money.
Because of injury, though. Every time he's been on the field, he's been the best running back in the NFL.
No. You learn your lessons.
Let me defend this
from D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart.
Let's talk about this. Christian McCaffrey this year's cap hit $7.7 million. All right. Next year's cap hit $12 million. The year after that, $12 million. And then guess what? We have an out of the contract at year 3, and we can get out of it. The only time he makes $16 million is after we can have an out. So if he just bums out the next 3 years, he's out. We can get rid of him for a minimal dead cap space. This was actually a very smart contract. If you look at it, it was an extension and not just an override of his current contract. He's playing out his rookie contract, which is this year, his 4th year. And then next year would have been the 5th-year option. Instead of doing the 5th year, we gave him a 5-year extension. And from that point, and on average, even if he plays out the entire contract, he's on average making $13 million a year.
What benefit does that do us right now when Mike Davis, an undrafted free agent, is playing like fucking Wolverine?
No, bro. He had a couple of good games.
And it doesn't matter. Running back is the most easily replaceable position in football. And then how about this? Tony mentioned this earlier. Are we now looking at the DJ Moore pick a little bit differently in light of not having taken offensive linemen and stuff like that? Well, let's look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, who never use first round or even second round draft picks on wide receivers, and their wide receiver core is damn near nothing but superstars.
They've also got Ben Roth. They've also got a Hall of Fame quarterback throwing them the ball. So let's not give all the credit to the coaching there, the talent squad there. Because what happens to those Pittsburgh Steelers receivers when they leave Pittsburgh?
Yeah, but those same general managers and scouts picked that quarterback, didn't they?
That's true. That's true. So you pick players to complement him. You pick a quarterback that allows you to not pick elite wide receivers.
I agree with Cody on this point, though, is that it's not something against DJ Moore, is that just his physical traits create a certain ceiling for him. Like, he cannot be a transcendent wide receiver. He just can't.
The reality of that pick, though, we went into that draft as that being our number one need.
Mm-hmm.
And every person can attest to that. We knew when that draft board started to dwindle down, it was going to be either Calvin Ridley or DJ Moore. And that was it. That was our number one need. We had no other wide receivers on the roster. None.
But neither of those guys are Megatron type players.
He wasn't drafted at a Megatron level. Like, it wasn't like he was a top 10 pick.
Right.
And by the way, I want to clarify something here. I love Christian McCaffrey. I think he's the best running back in football. But the point is, a general manager, guys, is not supposed to think like a fan. I heard someone say in the chat room, Scott Thomas, fan base would have rioted if we didn't sign CMC. And that's 100%. In an offseason where we lost Cam Newton, we lost Greg Olsen, we lost Luke Kuechly, we had to have some semblance of star power on this football team if we were going to sell tickets. I understand it from that point of view. What I am merely saying is that from a positional value, there is no reason to pay any running back that kind of money when they're so easily replaceable. And I love Christian. I think he's the best running back in football. But a general manager should not think with the mind of a fan. They should think with what builds a championship football team. And that's what I'm talking about. It doesn't also add any better for him that this is the same thing he did his first time in Carolina. Overpaid D'Angelo Williams and then overpaid Jonathan Stewart on top of it.
You're pigeonholing him into something here, though, because you in one hand you're complaining about all the players he's let go of. Look at what they're doing with the other teams. Which, by the way, if he had these players, he was the reason the players came here, and they're blowing up on the teams. That's not the GM. That's coaching. Okay, that's them going to better coaching and better teams and playing like a good player, like he scouted them to be. Is second of all, if he were to let go of Christian McCaffrey to go to any team, just name, I don't care, any
he would get paid
and tear it up. Wouldn't you be dragging Hurney through the coals right now for not re-signing Christian McCaffrey? Because that's what you're doing about the other players that are going out there and tearing it up right now. Is you can't blame him for saying, well, he shouldn't pay this talent this, and then when talent leaves, say, oh well, he should have kept them and paid them. Like, where's it?
Marty Hurney's have 4 good drafts in his career. 4 very good drafts, 5 if you count this year, which I am reluctant to count at this point because I thought the 2015 draft was going to be one of the greatest drafts in Carolina history. At the end of 2015, it sure looked like that, and it didn't happen, right? So he was very successful early in his career. And then he kind of went into kind of like a slump around 2008, 2009, where it just came off the rails. we've only seen limited Marty Herney. We've seen one good draft. If we all just give him credit for this draft and say this was a very good draft, and I don't even know if that's the case. 7 defensive players. That's tough. Time will tell. And 27, the DJ Moore draft was okay. But you brought up Pittsburgh. And I am looking at their drafts over just the last 3. I know this is a short sample set, but I wouldn't say this is the last good draft they had was in 2017.
The linebacker, what's his name?
Watt.
Yeah, TJ Watt.
Yeah, they got TJ Watt, Juju. Yeah. They got James Conner. Josh Dobbs was, a backup so they got 3 really good players. This is who they got last year. Chase Claypool.
He's doing
right.
good.
He's a monster, right? But they've got they got a linebacker, Alex Highsmith. He has 1 interception, 1 sack. I don't know how he's doing. It doesn't like he's not. Anthony McFarland Jr. 20 attempts at rushing in the 4th round. Nothing. He's a nothing. Kevin Dotson, don't know who that is. Antoine Brooks Jr., Carlos Davis. Here's their draft last year, 2019. Devin Bush, Deontay Johnson, Justin Lane, Benny Snell, Zach Gentry. All bums, dude. I mean,
Deontay Johnson and Benny Snell, and what was the other name? Say those first 2 names again.
Bush.
Devin Bush. All right. When I say bums, how about this? Is this draft a hit? Are you trying to tell me that this is first round pick Devin Bush, linebacker, 2nd round Deontay Johnson, wide receiver, and he's had more rushing attempts than anything, it looks like. He's had 108 receptions in 2 years, I guess. Justin Lane, Benny Snell, Zach Gentry. I don't think that those are all of a sudden that you're saying that's.
As I said this on Sunday, if you're going to go through the best GMs and nitpick every single
I'm not nitpicking. I'm just saying it's not a nitpick. I didn't even name Abe. I'm just saying, is this a great draft? That's it. That's all I'm asking. And here's the year before. Tell me if these names are awesome to you. Now, maybe they are. Terrell Edmonds. Now, look, they're good on defense. So he plays safety, 1st round pick, 28th pick safety. James Washington we thought James Washington was going to be a monster, but he has kind of gotten overshadowed now by Chase Claypool, and Mason Rudolph, Chukwumuma Okaforo, Marcus Allen, Jalen Samuels. What I'm just saying is this: the one draft I think that they crushed was still 4 years ago, 3 years ago, over 4 years ago. That's it. That's what I'm saying. I'm not nitpicking, and that's unfair. That's an unfair criticism, Cody. That's not nitpicking.
Because that's exactly what you're doing with Marty Herney is nitpicking.
Nitpicking all the bad stuff.
You're not giving.
I demonstrated on the drafting side of the football and on the free agent side of the football, building the team areas in which he is inept and does not do his job well. That's one of the things that I think is getting lost here. A general manager doesn't just evaluate talent. They even control the uniform schedule. Like what logo goes at the middle of the field. Team doctors, they do all of this shit. It is a team builder. Okay, what I am saying is that Marty Herney has done nothing to put this team over the edge, other than a few draft picks here and there that puts us over. He doesn't do that for us. Okay. There is nothing that Marty Herney does that isn't repeatable with a new, younger, more talented general manager.
Now let's talk about that.
On at least one person. Guaranteed every year. At least one person every year.
So does John Schneider. So does Kevin Cole.
Exactly. So why is he so much worse? So why is he so much worse than them?
He brought in Rasul Douglas, who's been a great.
Well, let's find the common ground here. There is common ground here. The common ground that has come about is that on one hand, Marty Herney has not been phenomenal, but he's not been the worst. Right? Man, that's the truth, is that he has not been the worst throughout his career, but he has not been phenomenal. Cody came in and said that the argument is, if that's the case, then I think we can find somebody else that at the very minimum could be that. So that's a common ground statement right there. So
Okay.
now that we go forward on that, is who are these potential people? And I have some questions because I got the list right here because I got to go. I got the list because I am the master of this podcast. But I have some questions about some people that aren't on the list that I like to hear them talk. I can just get enamored by the way people talk, and I like them. So let's go through. If Marty Herney is a bum, or at the very minimum, just adequate at this point for mediocrity, how do we get better at the GM position? Number one, who is your number one pick person?
All right. Well, so what I'm going to do, I hope you have them in the right order. That's what I want.
I gave them in the order you sent them.
Right. Okay. So
at the last moment, by the way, but okay.
All right. So I'm gonna go. So I'm actually starting at number 5, and I'm gonna go down. And I'm gonna go down to number 1. I'm gonna start at 5, and I'm gonna count down to 1.
Okay.
So to make sure we're on the same page here, our first candidate should be Jeff Ireland.
Oh, that's number 5 then.
Yeah. No, that's right. I'm watching.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So listen, Jeff Ireland is the assistant general manager for the New Orleans Saints, and under the guidance of Mickey Loomis, has thrived and is largely accredited for the defensive transformation the Saints had undergone in the draft the last 4 years. Y'all remember the Saints were like 7-9 for 3 years in a row. And the people in the Saints organization credit this man with that incredible draft they had in 2017, which included Marshawn Lattimore, Ryan Ramczyk, Marcus Williams, and Alvin Kamara. I mean, and I've even mentioned this on the podcast before, how much one fantastic draft can turn around your whole franchise. Like the New Orleans Saints are still riding high based off of that one draft that they had in 2017. Like that rewrote their future for them. So
what was his name real quick?
Jeff Ireland. He is the assistant general manager for the New Orleans Saints. He is a very coveted member of their building, and they don't want to lose him. That should tell you something about this man. He has been pivotal to what the Saints have been able to build in our own division.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Gotcha.
All right,
just to go through with this, Ireland was originally, he was I believe he was a GM before.
Yes, and that's why
he's the Miami
with
Dolphins,
Miami and Seattle.
But he was the general.
He's a consultant of the draft at Seattle.
He was the general manager for the Dolphins, and apparently that didn't turn out too well. But since he has been back to New Orleans, apparently he's been lights out for them. That's why he's number 5 on my list.
Fun fact about Ireland is he's the guy that asked Des Bryant during a formal interview whether Bryant's mother was a prostitute, after allegedly told Ireland that his dad was a pimp and that his mother worked for his father in the family business. Des Bryant then denies that, telling him that his dad was a pimp. Ireland later apologized for the question. Just a fun fact. All right, who's next on the list?
Super fun fact. All right, now this one I put on there largely because of the connection to our owner. And the reason why I don't have him higher on the list is because this man just signed an extension through 2021. So if we were to sign him, it wouldn't be until after next year, which is not ideal. But we're going to talk about Kevin Colbert. He's the general manager of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we know that David Tepper wants to do his best to build the Steelers version of the Panthers here in the South. Kevin Colbert has been with the Steelers since 2000 and has overseen 2 Super Bowl championship winning football teams. During his run in Pittsburgh, the Steelers have also suffered just one losing season and that was 2003. And listen, that kind of consistency in and out, hiring coaches, hiring scouts and doctors, and drafting well. I mean, that is the type of person that you want to build your franchise, and he's a part of one of the better teams in football, and he's been a name for a long time now. I would love to see this man come to Carolina, but he would have been higher on my list, but we would have to wait until after 2021.
All right. So next on the list,
Mike Borgonzi. He has helped build the Kansas City Chiefs into a Super Bowl champion. He's a part of the front office that helped revamp that defense that finished 7th in both total points allowed and points allowed per game. This is after the Chiefs' 2018 defense finished 24th and then moved on to be the number 9th overall defense in the NFL in a span of 2 years' time. So it's another one of those Kansas City names that has built a juggernaut, and now this is another man who has had his name mentioned a lot, and he will have a lot of job offers at the end of this year.
All right.
Yeah.
And
did you recognize any of these names?
Jeff Ireland, I recognize the name.
I know Ireland, yeah. And I want to say this is what I like and what I think about even with Marty Herney, to be honest, I think his second go-around has been better in a way.
Right.
Now, I don't know if that – I think it may be in the management of the larger picture has been better in that case. So I do like the idea of a guy having a second go, not because you feel like it's the experience, but sometimes that experience, you've been there before. So I like that idea, and he's really been very effective and, like you said, essential in New Orleans. A lot of people have a lot of good things to say about him in the NFL circles. The other guys, no, I don't know. All right, next on the list.
Next on the list is Adam Peters. And Adam Peters has been pivotal to what the 49ers have built recently with that incredible defense. And John Lynch hired Peters in 2017 to be the team's vice president of player personnel, a job that he still holds to this day. Now, this might burn a little, but you might understand why I like him. Okay. He spent 8 years in Denver from 2009 to 2016, starting off as a regional scout and eventually rising to the position of director of college scouting. He not only helped construct 2 AFC championship teams with the Broncos that included a Super Bowl championship squad in 2015, but he also built this Super Bowl contending NFC champion 49ers a year ago. This is a guy whose name has constantly been building. So many San Francisco fans say that he has been pivotal to John Lynch's evaluation process of bringing in players and what they want to do. And personally, I love their draft. That's another football team. When you look at John Lynch and the players that they draft and look at what they've been able to do, even in spite of all the injuries that football team has had, dude, I mean, they draft well. They draft very well. And another example of a younger, dynamic general manager that we could build the future of this football team around. Very highly respected name in the NFL right now.
All right, and your number one, very exciting.
My number one is none other than Dan Morgan.
I would be all right with that, babe.
Dan Morgan. Okay.
Just to see him back at the Panthers.
Yeah, and look, this is a homecoming. So I want to read a little bit.
I wish
right
Dan
here.
Morgan would have been picked by Marty Herney, but he was picked in the draft right before Marty Herney was the GM. But Marty was with the organization.
So in 2010, he was awarded the director of pro personnel in Seattle. And he was a part of the drafts that brought in Bruce Irvin, Bobby Wagner, and KJ Wright, and helped build that dynamic Legion of Boom defense. On top of that, for the past 2 years, he has been the director of player personnel in Buffalo and has helped turn around the Buffalo Bills to be probably the favorite to win the AFC East this year. Mm-hmm. On top of that, there's a guy by the name of Luke Kuechly who is in our building right now as a scout. Who better to have in front of that man other than a vision of his future? A man who played linebacker for the Panthers, knows film, knows how to evaluate talent, and I mean, he will be the person that will, instantly fit into our culture. He was drafted by us, and he has turned around 2 football teams and built and helped build them into a formidable defense in their division. I would love Dan Morgan to come back to Carolina. I think that would be perfect for us.
Cody, I think I'm taking notes on all 5 of your guys as we're going through here. And while I don't think that we need to get rid of Hurney, these arguments are valid, and I can agree with you on 3 of those 5 for sure. Dan Morgan, obviously, for the same reasons you said. Adam Peters would be my choice of everybody you just said, just based on the fact that he was with the Pats from 03 to 08, which was their big success years.
Sure.
And then with the Broncos from 09 to 16, which was their big success years. I think it probably counts for 5 Super Bowls in that amount of time. So I could get behind that. And I could get behind Kevin Colbert, Steelers, because just a track history of success. However, Mike Borgonzi and Jeff Ireland, nah, dude, you cherry picked one of the good years they've had, or the last 2 good years they've had out of the 18 they've been in the NFL, and had 16 horrible years based on their future, and cherry picked the 2 good ones and said they're a good cause. I don't think they would be good for that. I'm looking at he was with this Jeff Ireland was with the Saints for the 2 years from 2015 to 17 for that draft. They were 7-9 both those years. So
but like a lot of the drafting stuff doesn't show up right away, even though. And then the other thing is that Jeff Ireland does have a pedigree that links back to Bill Parcells, which that's pretty cool. But I think the real question for all of these guys, and really the determination, and I think that one of the reasons that people have been on this podcast. I know CK and myself, and I think Greg too a little bit, and I don't know specifically Greg's position entirely on Marty Hurney, but that the idea is that what's going to be important for the next GM is not only their ability to be a good GM or even a great GM, but really much of that will be determined by their ability to work with Matt Rule and David Tepper. David Tepper obviously first, but Matt Rule is the guy, right? Matt Rule is you're not going to get a GM who's going to get an 8-year contract. I promise you that. And so I think out of that list or any candidate, the number one question that's going to be on Tepper's mind is how will this guy fit with Matt Rule?
So my biggest, the part that I can agree with you on, Cody, is I think Marty Hurney should have been fired when they fired Ron Rivera.
I agree.
I do. Now, granted, we might not have got Jeremy Chin or anything like that, but that should have happened then. It should not happen a year into a pretty successful rebuild, because what you risk is you have right now Marty Hurney, who it looks like he's on an upswing. If you look at the trajectory in which he's going, he is moving up as far as quality. Like if you look at where he started before the 2020 season, before the 2020 draft, he was not listed as one of the higher tier GMs. After 2020 draft, he is going to be looked at as being one of the better ones, right? Because of the quality and what he got out of the draft. And then you look at also what we had to deal with on our defense with having, injuries to a retiring Luke, to things that you couldn't have predicted were going to happen at a GM position. And to defend one part, I think before I jump into my point here, Shaq Thompson was signed while Luke was still in uniform. And Shaq Thompson was still doing pretty well at that position in place of Thomas Davis. We needed a replacement. Letting him go would have been a mistake. And if we let Shaq walk, we would have all been upset because Shaq was playing decent. Because we've all established Shaq plays better when he's got better players around.
Is that true about the timeline? I'm not saying you're false.
Yes.
I'm just saying that's
he got signed 2 years. This is his second year on this new contract.
Really?
So
yes.
I thought he just got it this past offseason. And I thought it was.
No, yeah, you're wrong. So, the first year of his new contract was.
What year was he drafted? Because we exercised his 5th-year option, I think.
He was drafted in 2015.
Yeah.
Okay, and then
we might have exercised his 5th year and then signed him that.
Yeah, because I want to say I think that part of the impetus for us extending, making it priority we prioritize Shaq over Bradbury is one is corner costs a little bit more, but the other is that I thought it was because Luke had just retired and we didn't have anything.
Yeah, I see what you're asking now. Like, when did it happen? Was it a result?
All right, but let's not get stuck on that. But can
I just retort to what said real quick? Okay, what I'm trying to say is that there's a through line to all of this, right? Just like there was never any evidence on film of Teddy Bridgewater being a franchise quarterback.
We both agree that he was not Bernie's choice.
There was never any evidence on Shaq Thompson's film to say that he was worth the $13 to $16 million a year that he's going to be getting from here on out. If you want to pay someone, fine. But we're talking about overpaying a player when you had another player on your football team that would have added much more value to you, both now and long term. And number one, Taylor Moton, who rumor is we're not going to pay. And then number two, James Bradbury.
Running with that
How
rumor,
bad,
man.
how bad
Whole
do we
rumor.
need James Bradbury right now when Dante Jackson isn't panning out for us and Russell Douglas is our best?
I agree on that. I agree on
defended Bradbury for years.
Hold on, and why you guys are is
part.
Shaq inside linebacker or 4-3 outside linebacker?
4-3 outside.
4-3 out, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So, but what I was trying to get at, I just had to defend that because he signed that contract before Luke retired and before he was
signed December 2019 when they were still playing. Luke was still
exactly.
playing, yep.
So I mean, they were still in the middle of the year last year, but nonetheless, it wasn't this past offseason after the retirement of Luke. It was well after their ability to scout other players was already over. They already had an idea who they wanted, by the time Luke retired.
How is Khalil Mack listed as an inside linebacker? I thought he was an end. But
my point is right now, we're already a year into a pretty successful rebuild. Bringing in a new GM, you risk having a great GM, but you also equally risk having a really shitty GM who doesn't know how to draft. We could be in a situation where now we're moving in a positive direction, and we can all agree we're moving in a positive direction, right? And Cody, all the people in the top 10 draft picks, like if we're in the top 10, all the people that are quarterbacks that are rated in the top 10 are people you could see being a Panthers quarterback, right?
Yeah, I mean, right now, yeah.
So we can't even use his ability to not draft QBs against him in this draft if we are for sure going against the QB. Because no matter, unless he goes full on Daniel Jones,
or
Mr. Trubisky.
But again, I don't trust him to be able to look at the narrow margins that somebody might see that puts one player over another. So, for example, Daniel Jones was drafted in the top 10.
Exactly. And everybody laughed.
But, yeah, well, okay, but I wouldn't say that.
And it was laughable.
Hey,
right, it was laughable.
Dave Gettleman, by the way, not Marty Herney.
I want to defend too Herney's pick with Cam Newton. I know you say, Cam Newton was the quarterback there.
A lot of people were telling us.
Yeah, not at the time.
Let me go over that 2011 draft class because I believe that 2011 draft class was probably the best draft class that I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's legendary for sure.
I mean, it's absolutely insane. So, while he did, draft Cam Newton, which we thought he should have. He could have gone a bunch of different directions, which
we knew.
If you really think about it, he may have gone a different direction, and we might have been more successful just based on what was going on. But dude, the 2011 draft, listen to this. It's Cam Newton, Von Miller, Marcel Darius, AJ Green, Patrick Peterson, Julio Jones, Blaine Gabbert, JJ Watt, Christian Ponder, Nick Farley, Mike Pouncey, Nate Solder, Prince Amakamura, however you say his name.
He was good too.
I mean, Mark Ingram, Derek Sherrod, dude. You had Colin Kaepernick, Andy Dalton. Like the 2011 draft cast was fucking loaded.
It was.
So to say that 2011 drafting Cam Newton was a surefire thing, I don't think it was.
We needed a quarterback. Direction. We had were we the number one pick? Was that the number one?
We were the number one pick. Yep.
There was this crazy group of old head scouts that kept saying that Blaine Gabbert was the better pick.
Yes, was
than
better
Cam Newton.
Blaine, yeah.
But also in defense of Cody's assessment on this is that I do think it took a little bit of guts to draft Cam Newton at that time. Because it was kind of, and the reason I say that is because he fit so many narratives of what people said an NFL quarterback couldn't be, right? So it took some guts to just say, we're going to go with this beautiful stallion right here. And that was a great pick. But the rest of the fucking draft was a godforsaken bust.
Terrible.
Oh,
terrible.
It was horrendous.
Hold on. The rest of the draft.
For the Panthers. The rest of the Panthers draft was Terrell McClain, Suafo'u. Yeah. There's not one person that worked out other than Cam Newton. And to be honest, this is the problem with really Marty Herney is that he gives you one or two players that turn out to be really great, right?
Stars. Yeah.
And then it's just not enough hits. He did it a little bit better early on in his career. But like the 2012 draft, another bum of a ass draft. And that, you get Josh Norman at 143, but it's Luke and Josh. Other than that, Frank Alexander smoked weed out of this, So, Herney is good at picking he can pick a linebacker, bro. I tell you that motherfucker can draft a damn linebacker. Yeah. But I do agree with what Cody's saying is that he is not irreplaceable by any measure.
Yeah.
And number two,
I agree.
you can get a big improvement. But number three, though, is how it's going to be a lot about fit, guys. That's what it is. And right now, at least on the surface, Matt Rule, Marty Herney, and David Tepper have a decent relationship.
I think about this. This is the first year, and granted, like I said, we want to sit here and put Teddy Bridgewater on Marty Herney all day, every day, but we know that was not Marty Herney's decision. Marty Herney's decision was heavily swayed by our coaching staff. We know that. There is no questioning that. We know exactly what was going on. And I think this coaching staff and Marty Herney work very closely hand in hand with the moves that they make. You got to keep in mind, what we have as far as like the people that are being signed. But here's what I'm saying. My point being is, are you prepared to take that risk on a GM that more often than not does not hit in the NFL, that has no proven record? Right. If you look at the history of people who need to hire new GMs, more often than not, it doesn't work. And they give them way too much time.
So
the answer
is
yes.
Go with somebody who, or do you want to go with somebody who is clearly working well with this coaching staff, who has drafted well this year and has an opportunity to show that he's able to do something more next year with a completely different mindset that isn't being hindered by another coach?
No, because the reason why you still do it is because all those reasons you said not to is only rooted in fear. Like literally what you just said is, hey, if it doesn't work out, we're fucked. And you're right, CK. If it doesn't work out, it could be a very bad situation. And I'm not trying to tell you that is impossible, that it can't happen, that we hire someone and it turns out that they're wrong. What I'm saying is this. The Carolina Panthers, as of right now, are mired in mediocrity for two different reasons. We have a mediocre general manager and we have a mediocre quarterback. I argue that purgatory known as being a mediocre franchise is even worse than being a dumpster fire, because at least if you're a dumpster fire, you get the benefit of having all the good draft picks. What I'm saying is in order,
assuming you have a good GM,
in order for the Carolina Panthers to be a legitimate perennial contender, you have to take chances. You have to take chances. You have to take chances on a franchise quarterback. And once you feel like you've done your due diligence and you feel you have a candidate that can manage your team for a decade or more, yeah, man, you hire that dude.
This was
like
Cody's
Cam Newton?
This was
exactly
Cody's argument.
Right
this was Cody's argument for getting rid of Ron Rivera. And to be honest, is that he wanted to do it a year earlier. I think we did the right timeline on this, and I'm happy with what we did, though. So we could be sitting here with Ron Rivera going through all this crap, right? I have one question about this GM thing, and then we're going to go. We got to get to these damn calls.
Yeah, it's 11:30.
My question to you is this: is that when you look at these middle of the pack picks, or even when we assess a draft and the success of it, how much of that should also be attributed to the actual head coach and his actual staff? Because I feel like they have a large voice in that war room. And when I look at some of these busted ass drafts, I don't know if that's all Hurney and if it is, or any GM. And when you got some of these busted ass drafts, maybe that falls on the coaching staff. Right, a little bit, because they have, and maybe some of those scouts inside, you lean on them. Yeah, it is top down, and I just think the coaching staff has a large influence on those picks. All right, let's go through these calls. We're just powering through.
Okay, yeah.
Hey guys, it's Tyler from Spruce Pine. I started a podcast. It's called The Country Panther. Tony, you were actually my first follower ever.
I listened to it today.
Twitter. I made it today, and today is Monday. If you guys would, I made the podcast to try and help grow Panther Nation. I love what you guys do. I love listening to you guys. If you would just give me a shout out, anybody that's listening to this podcast, you would give mine a listen and let me know what you think. You can find me on Twitter at country_Panther. And the link to my podcast is on there. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks for your support. Thanks for the shout-outs on your podcast today. I listened to it. I did follow you. I follow it like I'm not intimidated by people like this, as I want us to grow. I love that attitude. So, yeah, I'm going to follow you. Even when you have to create a new Twitter account, I followed you again. On top of that, my next piece of advice for your podcast is, I don't know if you mentioned your name in your own podcast today. You mentioned that call, so thank you. But go listen to it, and I loved it. I love hearing Panther fans talk honestly and authentically about being a Panther fan and their position. I think we have a lot of insight. I think you see it on this podcast and all the podcasts, a lot of different takes that are really valuable and just as valuable as those by people who are getting paid to do this. The other thing is, I always love when people shout me out. You shout me out on your podcast. And on top of that, my man even shouted out a tweet. He didn't even remember it was mine about Teddy Bridgewater being adorable when he does a play action pass because he looks like he's going to throw downfield and then he doesn't. 252-228-5098. Go follow the country. It was Country Panther.
Country _Panther. That's what I'm looking for right
Country
now.
Panther podcast. There you go. Grow Panther Nation one fan at a time. Hell, more podcasts, more listeners, more fans.
Hey guys, this is Chuck from Elizabeth City calling. Just kind of wanted an address. I know it was an emotional week. I think this was the most emotional week I've had this year. And I give credit to the coaching staff and these young players, some of the guys that we're developing. They kind of give us a reason for something to believe in. We see a bright future. Kind of disappointed, at the end of the game with the coaching staff. And we could blame Fly, we could blame Bridgewater, and we can really blame the coaches, for Joe Brady and Matt Rule for not running the ball there at the end of the game. You kind of got to go with the analytics and take time off the clock and get the ball in the end zone. And if you don't, you've got to pin down the left time. But I want to focus on something I've been watching you guys on this show. And I really see it in one of you guys who's really die hard with the draft. Cody, I'm coming out for you, buddy.
Come on, bro.
I love your excitement. I love what you bring to the show. But I cannot think of the other gentleman, and he's very reasonable. CK, I really think is the biggest voice of reason with Tony. But I'm going to say you guys who want to lose out, get a high draft pick, there's a loser mentality. And everybody says you don't gain anything by losing these games, by winning these games. We don't pick up anything. We need to go ahead and get a high draft pick. And I bring you back to the 2012 draft. I wanted Mark Barron with our ninth pick. Tampa Bay took him at number 8. I was disappointed. And we took a linebacker I really didn't know much of by the name of Keekly. How'd that work out? And look at this year's draft. In the second round, we got Matos and we got Chim. A lot of people wanted Isaiah Simmons. We took Derek Brown in the first instead. We cannot just assume that the higher draft pick we get is going to be a better player. We've got to win games and be that type of club. A lot of times people think when the start of a season happens, the first thing that's going to happen is we're 0-0 and we're going to go on a 10-game winning streak and we finally turn the corner. Why can't we be at the end of a season and we start our breakthrough? Even with these last 5 games, why can't we start getting on fire and take it into next year and we start a winning tradition with this coaching staff and this team we have? It doesn't have to start with a new draft pick and a new season and new free agency. We could take what we've got now, try to go ahead and win and bring it into next season. I do not want to be one of these people who want to lose the
Let me see. Here's part 2.
It's Chuck from Elizabeth City calling again. I got on a rant, and it'll probably get worse for the season ends. But I just wanted to say we cannot be in a situation where we think we're going to just lose out and get a better draft pick. That's not a guarantee. Cleveland and Detroit and Jacksonville should be prime examples of teams that are in top 5 or 10 every year to draft. How's it worked out for them? As bad as Seattle's defense is, they're 8-3 right now. Pete Carroll's got them winning every year, and a low year for them is being 9-7 or 10-6. I want to be a team that we expect to be in the playoffs every year.
Same.
A winning mentality is important. Taking some guy who's playing in college right now who may be a win, who may not be a win. We're getting some really good quarterbacks like Herbert for the Chargers this year. Wow, we almost got the guy. We could have had the guy. But how many times is it that guy that gets drafted that just stinks? It's not any good. I mean, even a guy like Wentz for Philadelphia is kind of going downhill right now. We've got to start.
This is why I don't believe you on that North Dakota bullshit.
I want to be a winner. I want to win. And when I watch a Panther game, I can't sit there and root for them to lose. That's not how my mentality goes. Got to win these games. That's what they keep pounding that's not keep accumulating. That's keep pounding. Put the hammer to the nail and you keep pounding.
I like it.
Yeah, I've been an advocate for this. Is you don't want to get the stink on you, and the stink is real, right? It is real, and there have been a lot of teams that have had a lot of high draft picks that have blown it. Now there have been a lot of opportunities too where a high draft pick really can turn your franchise around. You pick a Cam Newton, turns your franchise around. You pick maybe what's going to be Trevor Lawrence, turns your franchise around, or Peyton Manning, these types of guys, right? But for all of those picks, there are also a long list of guys picked at the same position, with the same draft capital that have been immeasurable busts, where you're going to go from RG3 to, look, Lamar Jackson's even regressed this year. But I think here the best examples of this are real, or some of my favorite examples are right now still in the NFL. One is in Chicago, sucking, Mitchell Trubisky. Awful. Daniel Jones is a better running back than he is a quarterback. And my favorite of all time, Blake Bortles. Now, some of those guys were picked in some quarterback thin drafts. Some of those were picked in drafts where there's more names: Jared Goff, Sam Darnold. Jared Goff, okay, had a bad week this week, but not transcendent.
Jared Goff had a bad season to some degree.
And then the other guy who
also been in a Super Bowl and in the playoffs.
Sure. But Sam Darnold was probably, but there's the Sam Darnold. There is Carson Wentz, who's having a very terrible season. I don't know what's going on with him. And
He's
then
not.
the other
injury,
one
injury killed him, man.
That one
And
that
then
was
there's
picked
Kyler
by
Murray,
Arizona.
Deshaun Watson,
Sure, yeah.
and
So
Pat
there are
Mahomes,
there's stories where it
Josh
works and when it
Allen,
doesn't.
and Justin Herbert.
No,
Okay, let
Josh
me ask you
Allen.
this, Cody.
Okay.
Can I just respond to this phone call real quick?
Sure.
Listen, every Tuesday night I come on here and I'm fighting the world, man. I'm either dying on the fire Ron Rivera Hill or fire Marty Herney Hill, not because I want the Panthers to suck so we always have good draft picks. I want nothing more than for this team to be a powerhouse NFL team like they deserve to be, like we as fans deserve to have as a fan base. I understand that there are things that you have to do to build that kind of football team, and it's not easy to do. And it's based off of a simple principle. If you don't have a franchise quarterback, you don't have a future. Now, yes, you might end up drafting a bust who ends up being the next Manziel or Sam Darnold or Josh Rosen, whatever, man. If you want to play fearful like that, that's fine. All I'm saying is the Panthers
That's
have
not
to
what
have
he's saying,
a
though. He's saying
franchise
intentionally
quarterback.
tanking is not
Right.
what he's supporting.
Hoping for losses is what he's talking about.
We need
Right.
Okay, then we either need a better pick to be in position to draft that player, or we have to be okay with moving up to grab that person like the Kansas City Chiefs did, like the Buffalo Bills did with Josh Allen, and like the Texans did with Deshaun Watson.
Jury's still out on Allen, and I do think there's a difference probably from the difference between there's kind of a difference in some of these conversations is one is that the team is going to want to win. You want a team that wants to win. You want a team that doesn't care about advancing their draft pick. But philosophically believing that starting at the top with a strong quarterback and knowing how valuable they are. This is the draft to get one, though, it seems like.
Yeah.
Yes.
But here's my
That's
question,
my
Cody.
point.
Do these quarterbacks last to pick 10?
I think so
I don't think it's-
because
we're
I
at
think
6
right now there's some bad.
If we lose all the way out, we can be at the second pick in the draft.
Right now, the
theoretically,
wild
we can be
card-
the second pick in the draft.
The two wild cards are one dude, which our chat room is already talking about a lot, Zach Wilson, which I honestly think right now it's not even a discussion. He is the number 3 quarterback right now. I think the recency bias, the fact that he's having a Heisman kind of season, I think Trey Lance is probably number 4. So it would depend on if Trey Lance would end up falling outside of the top 10.
How
I
has
could see that
Fields looked
happening.
this year on the field?
who?
How has Fields looked on the field, on the pitch?
Well, Ohio State has played far less football than anyone else because the Big Ten started so much later than everyone else, and they've had cancellations. But he's had a few games where he's tossed 4 or 5 touchdowns.
Right. But like, is he right now running more on reputation or performance? That's all. I haven't watched it, so I don't know.
Yeah, so him and Trevor Lawrence this year, it would be very similar to how Andrew Luck and Robert Griffin III were the number 1 and number 2 pick.
Or even going back to Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf back for the old ones.
But the difference is Justin Fields has been a winner and a high-level quarterback for a long time. People have known his name for a long time. He's been a winner in high school. He's been a winner at Ohio State. He's a badass, man. In any other year that didn't have Trevor Lawrence, he's by far the number 1 player on the board. By far.
Okay, real quick, Cody, I want to go back real quick to one thing we're talking about. with this whole drafting and GMs and everything, I want to ask you a question, see if you know, because I guarantee this is it may be a number that's somewhat high, but I guarantee it's minuscule compared to the number of overall GMs. How many GMs have signed and or drafted at least 2 quarterbacks that have taken them to the Super Bowl?
Oh, like hit twice. That's a tough question.
How many GMs have signed or drafted at least 2 quarterbacks that have taken them to the Super Bowl? And you can't count like Tom Brady is 6. Like it's 1 quarterback.
So are you saying they've done it twice? Like they've done it twice
because Herney's done it twice. The only reason I'm asking. So I'm putting Herney on that level of he's signed or drafted 2 quarterbacks that have taken us to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, DeLome's a little.
How many GMs have done that?
DeLome
and isn't
was
that the ultimate goal? Is to get to the Super Bowl.
I don't know.
He didn't draft DeLome though.
But he signed him.
But he signed him, free agent.
He signed him.
No,
I mean,
but man,
you're talking about signing,
him
being a level of GM doing something. It's got to be counted, man.
Did John Elway get credit for signing Peyton Manning?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
but he's only done it once.
Okay, but what I'm saying is,
so
you can name 45 different GMs that have done that. There's probably 2,000 GMs that have been in the NFL. So realistically, 45 to that number of GMs that have actually been in the NFL. That's a pretty good ratio. I mean, it's pretty.
Maybe
good
the Baltimore guy has done it because he's gotten Flacco,
and Lamar Jackson.
Here, let's circle the question back to this. Tell me how many legitimate quarterbacks are top 10 picks without thinking about any other how many. How many could go in the top 10 without looking at what teams need them? Like, would you say you're comfortable if we're the number 10 pick and the other guys have been drafted? Who are they?
So who are the 4 quarterbacks that have already been drafted?
No, Trevor Lawrence.
Who in this draft class is capable of being drafted in the top 10? Or
if we're number 10 and they're there. So Lawrence, Fields, Zach Wilson is 3.
Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson from BYU, and Trey Lance from North Dakota State University. Now,
what about the Florida kid?
But yeah, there are 2 wild cards in here. I'm not really high on either of them, but that's not my official opinion yet. I haven't watched a ton of film. It's Kyle Trask, the quarterback from Florida, who
our Brad Dugan loves.
Who is statistically putting up better numbers than Joe Burrow was last year. So there's that. And then Matt Jones, the quarterback from Alabama. And Alabama looks like a damn good
we can't get a Matt Jones. The last one, quarterback, he was a quarterback drafted wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars named Matt Jones and ended up loving cocaine a little bit too much. Here, good news though. Currently, number 1 pick, New York Jets. Yes, taking a quarterback. Number 2, Trevor Lawrence. Number 2, Jacksonville is going to take a quarterback. Just say it's Fields or somebody else, right? In case they just do something stupid like they picked with Bortles. 3, Cincinnati would be I think that's a lot for them to put 2, but I mean, I guess there is a chance now if you're worried about Burrow because of the injury.
Oh, I doubt it.
They probably draft Penei Sewell.
Okay.
Yeah.
4, here's a problem, Dallas. They are a problem.
And I've been saying this. I do not believe after Dallas has done nothing but tell you that they don't want to pay Dak Prescott the highest paid quarterback money in the NFL. I don't all of a sudden believe that if they're sitting there at number 3 or 4 and a bunch of teams are calling them to try and trade up for Zach Wilson, that they're going to go with Dak Prescott.
I don't believe it either.
Coming off of an injury, and they have to pay him. Yeah, Dallas is a problem.
Dallas is a problem. We actually just need them to win a game, dude.
That's why Dallas is not a problem.
I hope the NFC East kind of sorts itself out before we're at
Chargers. Chargers are next. No quarterback
the rest of the season. They're going to win 2 more games. At least.
Good. Chargers not going to get a quarterback. Philadelphia wild card. It's going to be hard after they put a 2nd-round pick. They have Wentz.
And they paid Wentz.
And it's giving up on him too quick. Like he's having a down year. So good
they have
chance.
a bad team, period, is what it is.
Yeah, so we need to be rooting for Dallas. We're all Dallas Cowboy fans now for the rest of the season. All right, next
They're going to win 2 more games, I think.
What about Washington?
Washington's currently behind us, and they have a chance to win the division. So,
do you think, Cody? Do you really think that? And I this sounds stupid, but do you think the Jets are officially done with Darnold? Like they're done with him, even though he hasn't had an opportunity to play for a coach that actually knows how to coach a game of football. He hasn't played for a team that has the talent to keep him upright, nor the talent to catch the balls that he is throwing, and all that stuff. Do you think that they would be willing to trade away from the number 1 pick, knowing that Sam Darnold still has a lot of potential? He's still the same Sam Darnold. He just hasn't been given the equal opportunity. If he goes to the Jets, he's in the exact same situation that Sam Darnold. If Trevor Lawrence goes to the Jets, he's in the exact same situation.
Yeah, but different caliber player, man. Sam Darnold never was as good as people made him out to be.
And by the way, like people really don't understand. Like people think, "Oh, well, you're a Clemson fan, Cody," because of course you're going to say this.
Everybody knows that Trevor Lawrence is generational.
Like Trevor Lawrence. The difference between Trevor and Sam is night and day. And then on top of that, dude, he's cheaper for the next 3 or 4, potentially 5 years. I mean, they'll pay him before then, I'm assuming. But yeah, and when you're going to have a brand new head coach, you're going to do everything different. You have a bunch of draft picks. There is no way the Jets are not taking Trevor Lawrence.
All right, next call.
Hey, what's up, C3? It's your boy Mike, a.k.a. Supreme Leader. All right, that was horrible. I thought I'd give it a shot because I've been loving the impersonations lately. But
this is Tyler
it's
Lovato.
Run DMC Lovato. But I got a lot to say. From listening to the post game, I'm pretty sure Cody's going to be talking about Marty Hurney this episode. And I've always stood in between on firing Marty and keeping him. But I think this year is going to be the make or break for me. In this year's draft, if we don't draft the top 4 quarterback, if we have a top 10 pick and a quarterback's there, one of the quarterbacks, and we pass on him for a fucking linebacker or some shit, Micah Parsons, I don't
that'll
give a fuck
be
how good this dude looks. Okay, we need a quarterback more than anything. Especially if, say we pass on him for a linebacker who turns out to be, I don't care if this motherfucker's a Hall of Fame linebacker. If one of those quarterbacks that we pass on turn out to be good, I'm done, dude. Like, we need a quarterback.
I don't want to be the Buffalo Bills
more than ever, because I don't see us picking this high for a long fucking time. Not with this coaching staff. We're coached too well. We need to draft a QB. That's fucking simple. So if Marty drafts a QB, well, I'll be on the keep Marty train. If he doesn't, I'll be joining the hill with Cody. But also, he needs to fucking extend Taylor Moton. I don't know how this hasn't been done.
Yeah.
Taylor Moton has done nothing but been solid for us. He's been a stud. He
I
shows
hear
up
he
to
wants
work
left
every
tackle
day.
money.
Never gets in trouble. You never even hear his name. This dude just shows up to work. And that's the kind of
He has like a degree in like astrophysics or finance or something. That's why we ain't paying him. He knows too much about money.
Coming to work and doing their fucking job. So.
All right, next call, Tyler. I'm powering through your next call, and we're going to skip the third one.
Run DMC Lovato, call number 2. So as I said in my last call, I have a little conspiracy about. Not even conspiracy. It's just how I really think. I really think's going on right now. The power structure in the front office, okay? I think first off, it's Matt Rule at the very top, and behind him is David Tepper. And then it's Marty, right? I don't think Marty honestly holds any fucking power in this fucking front office. I think it's Matt Rule that makes all the fucking decisions. And
I agree with this, or I think this is how it's going to be, at least.
I'm going to prove we said this earlier.
And I'm not scared to say this, a Bill O'Brien kind of power structure here that's hidden by Marty Hurney being the GM, but he's really, I don't even think he's just like the person who's holding that slot as a GM, but I don't think he really is the GM. Okay? I think the only thing that Marty does is scout. He's like the top scout, okay? And the GM is already Matt Rule. I think he's already conceded the power to Matt Rule. And
I don't think it's happened yet. I just think he knows who's expendable.
What you're supposed to do as a GM, you're supposed to get what your coach wants. So he might just be, doing whatever Matt Rule wants.
This is why he's going to end up staying.
He has no decision. Like, say he wants to draft a linebacker this year in the draft. Okay, I think Matt Rule will overstep him and be like, "Nah, fuck that. We're getting a quarterback, or we're getting a lineman or something." Right? I think that he holds no fucking power. I think he's that guy there that he's like a waiter. He comes to your table. What do you want to eat? He'll go get it for you. That's all he is.
I agree.
And I'm kind of worried, like, we might have a little Bill O'Brien situation on us where Matt Rule is the coach and also the secret GM because Marty Hurney's being kept there as a puppet.
All right, so I think here's where I disagree. Thanks, Tyler, for the call. Is where I agree 100 that Matt Rule has the power or is going to have the power. Right, he's going to end up like he might not use it all the time, but if he wants to veto something, I think he can. I think that Marty Hurney knows that this is how it's supposed to roll at this point. He saw him get this giant long-term contract. He knows that David Tepper loves him, and he's just trying to work and fit and work within this. Where I disagree with the call is Bill O'Brien sucked at all of it. Right, he just sucked at all of it. At least Matt Rule right now is being a good coach, and I do think that Matt Rule hasn't pulled out that card too often. He has deferred to Marty Hurney, saying, "Let me learn the ropes a little bit more before I start telling everybody what to do in every single aspect." And I don't know if Marty Hurney is really a scout anymore, though. Right? I mean, like, he's too busy to be. They're not looking at this stuff yet. But thanks for the calls. Love it. Keep on pounding. We're going to keep pushing through these calls.
What's up, y'all? It's Nova Black. I just want to say that Jason from Colorado.
That's another impersonation.
Caller of all time. Every time he comes on, it's just money. Great money.
I think he said he loves Nova Black.
What's going on, C3 Nation? It's your boy Jay Anderson hitting y'all up.
What's up, Jay?
Being on Twitter and interacting in Twitter, I think a lot of people got this whole thing about Teddy wrong. People think that, some Panther fans hate Teddy. Nobody hates Teddy. The real thing is everybody hates Marty Hurney and David Tepper for what they, for basically what they did for Cam.
Yep.
Yeah.
And for giving Teddy $63 million for 3 years, in which basically you could have kept Cam for one more year. And if you want to do a rebuild, like, okay, just put the boy Will Greer in and see where we go for him. If Will Greer can't cut it, then we can just go draft us a quarterback. We could have been in the line to get Trevor Lawrence. We could have been in the line to get Justin Fields.
Well, we
got a chance to get Zach, Zach Wilson or Trey Lance, maybe. I mean, I do believe that they should, I believe they should get one of those guys and stuff like that. Now, I'm going back and forth. I'm saying they need an O-lineman, or they need but I really think they do need a quarterback. And basically, first, we need to get a new GM. Cause it's like this. You can say they need to get a offensive line. But you gotta have a GM that knows how to pick that offensive line. You gotta have coaches that know how to coach that offensive line. It's not, if you look at New England, they ain't got the best offensive line, but they always intact with their offensive line. Even when somebody goes down, they still they're still decent enough. So you gotta have coaches that gonna coach your offensive line. You gotta have a GM that knows how to pick your offensive line from your left tackles, you know, your right tackles and your guards and your centers, your backups. You gotta have that. So in all, man, I'm really, you know, I'm not pissed off at Teddy and stuff like that, even though he could have took accountability. Damn near he waited until he saw everybody sweep and stuff like that to take accountability. But through it all, man, it's like the Teddy apologists, you know, they made it even worse and stuff like that. They never got on the dude when he needs to be get on. They want to cuddle him like the dudes from Monday Night Football, like they cuddled Carson Wentz and stuff like that, man. Yeah, man, I got cut. This is Jay Anderson. I got cut off. But all in all, I just want to say, man, like, my whole beef is never with Teddy. You know, I think he's a decent quarterback. But with the Panthers, we don't need a decent quarterback. We need a playmaking quarterback. And
This
stuff
is
like
what
that.
we've been
And, you know,
saying.
like I say, my anger is not towards Teddy. My anger is towards Tepper and Marty Herney.
Well, even the people that
You
love
can't, you know,
Teddy
you can't
only
find the
believe
owner,
he's
so I ain't
decent.
going on that. But you know, if Tepper wants to have a new regime, he needs to get rid of Marty Herney.
All right.
You ain't see
Next
Tepper
call.
damn.
Hey, y'all, how y'all
I'm happy
doing?
I'm not the only one.
We're about 1 year too late, in my opinion.
Tuesday.
Yep, me too. I agree with
Call
that.
my brothers. Hey, man, looking back on that game, man, yeah, I was pissed off. You know, that Sly missed that kick. In all reality,
G was upset.
like that one caller said, he shouldn't even been in that predicament, man. Now I really look at it, and I agree with y'all. I mean, the team failed altogether. Teddy Bridgewater, man, I'm sorry, man. I don't have 5 on it. A lot of people saying they got 5 on it. You know what I'm saying, with Teddy Bridgewater, I don't. To me, this
I don't
dude
even got
is
250
just not
on
the
it.
answer for
Or
Carolina.
tree fitty.
He's not, you know. And the way I look at it, we should try to get a quarterback this upcoming draft. I really, really think we should. And I
They're
agree with you,
feeling
Cody.
you, Cody.
Our boy Zach Wilson, that boy is nice, man. I ain't gonna lie. So I just saw online, you know, we're like number 7 in the draft. I don't know if Zach Wilson will go down there. I wouldn't trade up for his ass, though. I wouldn't do that. But give me your thoughts on that. You know what I'm saying? You really blame Teddy Bridgewater for this loss? Because I do. And Cody, before I let you go, who do you think will go first? Zach Wilson or Justin Fields? Whoa. Woo! Keep pounding.
Ooh, yeah, man. I still think it'll be Justin.
Is
I
it
think
close?
I think it's getting closer, but I think it depends on how this season ends. But I mean, if it goes the way it is right now, Ohio State is going to end up in the playoffs. They're going to end up playing Clemson and the big SEC teams. So I'd still put Justin ahead. And yeah, I don't really know that Zach's going to be able to pass him just because it's a 1 year wonder thing, and it's not like his Joe Burrow, breaking SEC records. It is BYU, and a lot of people are going to hold that against him. But I don't judge the helmet; I judge the player. And number 2, I do think it's Teddy Bridgewater's fault. And number 3, I agree with everything except I would be willing to trade up for the quarterback if we feel that we have the right player.
I think when it comes to Teddy stuff, I'd still continue to think this is that the conversation somehow gets lost on people being upset that were kind of dissatisfied with decent being okay or even the best case scenario. And it's not like Teddy does some things that are pretty good, but he's just not great. And that's fine. I mean, I don't need him to be great. Didn't expect him to be great. It's just, man, it's just not, it's just not happening right now. And do I put it on Teddy? No, I put wins and losses on all. It does start with the head coach, right? At the end of the day, we blame the president for what's going on in the country. We blame the coach. We blame the quarterback. They're the hero of the day, even when they shouldn't be. And really, Teddy has not been. We have struggled in the red zone for several years now, and that was even with Cam Newton around. It has not changed, and he just, as Pat Coltrane says, he's not a serial killer, bro. He's just like, he's just okay at the very best, and that's that's fine to have for a temporary measure. Like it's better than not having a quarterback, I would suggest, but I don't see a future where Teddy Bridgewater is just gets tremendously better. How about that? Mm-hmm. Well, can we just say that is that unreasonable for the people that love Teddy Bridgewater? How much better do you expect him to get? Mm-hmm. Say you gave him full 3 years, you put the pieces around him. What's the best Teddy is going to be? Mm-hmm. And I think that if your answer to that question will tell you what you think about Teddy Bridgewater. Next call.
Hey, what's up, guys? Joey.
He already went to bed. You know that. You got to make straps.
I'm thinking about that game for the past 2 days. And I always thought that being that close hurts more than just getting your ass beat.
Yeah.
Because if you get your ass beat by a team, then you should have lost that game. But this is a game we shouldn't have lost. Teddy Bridgewater sucks a dick, and he doesn't want to. Like the other TB in our division, he doesn't want to take responsibility for it. He owes DJ a fucking apology for getting him hurt. He
needs to say, I need to be better. That's all he needs to say.
Messed up, man. But I was on the way home from work, and I was on the short bus, and the driver and I were debating what unit lost us this game. And he said defense because of the fourth quarter. And I said no. Our offense lost us that game because our defense got our offense in a position to go and put the game away. And then we were afforded the greatest opportunity we'll ever get this season. I would bet Greg, but I'm not going to bet Greg because I bet we'll get a better opportunity if I did bet Greg because I suck at betting. But
don't worry, Greg does.
May not get anything like that this season again. And what did we do?
I have a statement to make about
came up short.
Comment.
We couldn't get the points to put the game away, and that's why our offense lost us that game. And then, I talk about like when we get a touchdown, right? We celebrate the touchdown. At least I do. And then when the commercials come on, then I think, oh shit, we're up 20 points. We're going to lose this damn game because we're going to start packing our bags and taking our foot off the gas. So I just want to know what you guys think about that. And anyway, guys. Wow.
Nice.
All right, the comment I wanted to make, just real quick, because it comes back to the Teddy Bridgewater press conference. And then this is going to be really quick. Teddy Bridgewater said that they were in panic mode there in that DJ play, right?
Yeah.
In what world do you get the ball back on the 10-yard line in the red zone with a 3-point lead with 2 minutes left in the game, and you are in panic mode? That tells me you are not confident.
He's not a killer. He wanted to run the ball, dude.
He's not. So the fact that he said they were in panic mode is a problem to me because all they should have been feeling right there is extreme confidence in what they were doing because they had every opportunity to win that. They did what else can you do? You've gotten 3 turnovers, 2 resulted in a touchdown you didn't have to do anything with, and the other gave you the ball within 10 yards of the goal line. I mean, there's not much more you can do.
The other point,
Anyway.
the other point too is that sometimes maybe we need to reframe our questions about who lost, who won these games, and things like that. Right? I always think about it like this: is that I too often quantify things like the best movie, the best food. Really, what we're saying is my favorite movie is, my favorite food is, right? Because they are. So maybe we shouldn't be saying who lost this game for us. But maybe we should be saying this, is that the Joey Slye did not win the game for us. He had he had a chance to win the game for us. He didn't. Teddy Bridgewater in the offense did not win the game for us.
I like that way.
They had an opportunity to do it. And this is what Matt Rule said. There was 3 chances. Our defense could have stopped somebody. Our offense could have scored a damn touchdown.
Or our special teams.
And we could have kicked this damn field goal.
In all 3 phases.
The only reason I'm not saying that the defense didn't win this for us is because what Joey Slye said, and that there was no way we should have won this game. In theory, we just kind of, in some ways, I feel like we got a little lucky getting 2 scoops and scores. Imagine if we didn't have those.
And
this would have been bad.
And that's my thing too. Is while you can listen to Matt Rule say we failed on all 3 levels of the game, that's why we lost. No, I can look at the defense and say we scored 14 points and had 2 turnovers.
Well, he was only saying that on that last drive. That's what he was saying.
Okay, but still, I can look at the special teams and I can say that we caused a turnover and put our offense on the 8-yard line to score and put the game away.
The dude just dropped the ball. Like, I mean, he muffed the punt.
What I'm saying is the offense.
It was a great. He. If you watch that,
he was talking shit to him when he came up.
No, dude, listen. That ball would have been like that. Dude jumped on that ball and he got it perfect. Like that's the perfect way to
exactly. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying is like,
that's why I say the offense didn't win and Joey Slye didn't win it. They didn't win it for us. They might not have lost it by themselves, but they didn't win it.
But there's a lot more blame to put on the offense. It's the offense's job to score points to win the game, not the defense or special teams' job. You know,
in many ways, the defense came out like a wash.
I get what Tony's talking about because, I get what we're talking about. Like this shouldn't have been in the defense's hands, but it was, and they still failed, right? And then even after that, it shouldn't have been in Joey Slye's foot, but it was, and he failed, right? And so. There was failures on all 3 phases. Now, as a whole, should any of those other 2 been in that position? No. But they were, and they still failed. That's what I think Tony's trying to put into perspective. Is even though it's not
they did end up
position.
Scoring like 14 points with no. And it's on everybody, but the defense they had an opportunity to make some plays and they couldn't. And we just, Rasul Douglas and Justin Jefferson is just not enough. All right, next call. The last couple. And
hey, what's up, C3? I wasn't going to call again.
This is Tyler.
But you guys started talking about how you don't think we can get a good offensive lineman in the second round, and I completely disagree. This year has been so boring under Teddy Bridgewater. I've already been scouting for about 4 weeks now because I knew the season was going to go the way it was. I actually thought it was going to be worse, but this tackle class is deep.
I think this game
exposed I'm going to name
Teddy.
You guys some tackles I'm just going to name you guys the best tackles in this class, and it's deeper than last year's class. The last year, it was top heavy. It had 4 really good tackles, okay, and then the rest of them were meh. But here's the tackles, okay? We got Penei Sewell from Oregon. He's a lock, great tackle, okay? We got Samuel Cosme from Texas, who I fucking love, okay? This dude's a beast, okay? We got Jalen Mayfield, who held Chase Young. He's a right tackle, though, but he held Chase Young down, okay? We got Liam Eschenberg from Notre Dame. Notre Dame's offensive line has been great this year. He's going to be a good player. He can also switch into guard. We also got Dylan Redunz from North Dakota State. He's been very solid, and he can definitely go in the first round. We also have Jackson Carman from Clemson, the one that Cody liked a lot. The only game that I've seen so far of Jackson Carman playing horrible was against Chase Young. But
And he had
that's
his
it.
moments,
We also
too.
got Christian Darrisaw from West Virginia. Wait, not West Virginia. Virginia Tech. And he's played great. And I'm forgetting some other people. There's Daniel Falea. He's a 400-pound left tackle. But I'm not a big fan of big, fat-ass left tackles. But this tackle class has
Make
about
him a
8
defensive
deep.
tackle.
It's about 8 deep. And one of them will definitely be there in the second round. Also, the interior offensive line it's not super deep, but it's nice. You got Creed Humphrey from Oklahoma, the best center in the class. He's a monster. Josh Myers from Ohio State's a great center. You also have Wyatt Davis from Ohio State, who's the best guard in the damn class. He's a fucking monster. His grandpa, I believe, is a Hall of Famer. Elijah Vera Tucker, a good guard from USC. I'm not even looking at a sheet right now, but I wish I was, because if I was looking at my sheet, I would definitely be able to say more names for the interior
Great
offensive
call.
line.
Great call.
But
You know what?
What I'm trying to say is this line class for 2021 is pretty damn deep, especially at tackle. And one of them will definitely be there in our second round pick. So you guys don't need to worry about that.
See, I like this. I like this. You know what, Cody? I'm starting to see coming into fruition if we keep on this trajectory of draft in many ways similar to this year's draft, except for on the other side, quarterback, right? And then in the first 4 rounds, we pick
all offense.
Three out of 4 players are offensive players, because I do think we need to invest something in the secondary, and that might be through free agency. I don't know where it's at, but we can't. You know, I mean, we're too young and thin back there. Dante Jackson's not working out. But I just know that some of the talent gets a little thin in 3 and 4 when you're getting in a cornerback range. So I would not be opposed to us going quarterback, tackle, corner, center, guard. Like, that would be awesome.
I like that. Yeah.
That'd be. I'm down for it. I'm happy for it.
Last 2 calls.
What's up? What's up? It's Blake B.
Hey, what's up, man?
I don't know if you guys have looked at the Panthers' Twitter recently,
Like
but
Panthers.
they posted earlier today. Everyone keeps asking when we're doing another giveaway, and I don't know what they gave away before, but this guy named Robert retweets. I mean, you already gave away a W last week against the Vikings. And the Panthers actually retweeted back because they were getting so much hate on it. They thought that it was like a gift or something. This kid is just, chill out, bro, chill out. So I thought that was hilarious. That
that is great.
Everybody's just pounding them for how bad they blew it last week. Also, Teddy B sucks.
Internet remains undefeated.
What's up, fellas? This is Zach. I don't think I've ever said where I am, where I'm from before, but I'm from Greensboro, North Carolina. But regardless, this is going to be a short call. I just heard Chuck from Elizabeth City, his call, and I think we can all agree his main point. I just want to win, man. Like I think that's all we want. You know, as a fan base, we just want to see a winning franchise. We just want to see a franchise that gets out there and competes every Sunday. You know what I'm saying? That's all we want, you know, and like he said,
we've been relevant for the last decade.
You know, just want to lose out or tank or whatever, because you could bust in the draft, you know. All we want is a franchise that's going to put a winning team out there. I would also argue just a team that goes out there and competes every Sunday, you know.
Well, but, it seems like Matt Rule's got these boys doing that.
Like I said in my earlier call, being a Panthers fan has been rough, but I think we got a bright future, and I think we're going to turn it around. Again, as always, I always say this. I appreciate what you guys do. I really love your podcast. Keep it up, and you guys have a good one.
Yeah, man, thanks a lot. And look, I think we'll finish. I'll just round the cat calls out with this. First, I love all the perspectives, right, on this show. I like the passion that Cody brings. I like the reasonableness that CK brings, and I like the kind of statistical analysis that Greg brings. And I just love I got great hair. That's what I bring. When it comes
you're the moderator, bro.
Yes. When it comes to the calls, we've got so many good perspectives. And it was Chuck from Elizabeth City who's had some great calls over the last couple of weeks. And one of the things, though, is I agree with a lot of his point. I think tonight we had a lot of good conversation when it comes to the GM. And even though we kind of we felt like a little argument amongst ourselves, is that there was real common ground still beneath the discussion, right? And I actually think that there is, and I'm going to end it with the common ground on Chuck from Elizabeth City, the common ground between Cody from Charlotte, and was it Zach from Greensboro? I think that's what it was.
I don't know, but Zach hit me up, man. I'm Winston-Salem.
The common ground here is we want a team that is relevant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is consistently in a chance to get better and better. We have each year. We've had that for the last decade. It started with Cam Newton. Really, we have been a very relevant franchise, even though it has not translated into the immeasurable success that people want. We have actually had a good decade. The problem is the back end of this decade has been a problem, right?
Yes.
But I mean, if you think of 2013, 2015, and 2017, it was an every other year thing. I know it's an every other thing. That's get used to it, Carolina Panther fans. That's our MO. We do want to break that. We would love to have 2 back-to-back winning seasons. But the relevancy really began with Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Look, you're talking about a 2011 draft where we only got 1 pick right. One pick right, and it changed.
I actually can disagree with that. I really think the relevancy began with Jake Delhomme and the Carolina Panthers going to the first Super Bowl.
Well, that was our first round of relevancy. That was our first round. That was our first round of relevancy.
Down years. We had a couple of years with Jake Delhomme. We won 11, 12 games that we didn't go to the Super Bowl.
Jake Delhomme had his own nickname.
Jake Delhomme put us on the map. Cam Newton rejuvenated us.
Yeah, Delhomme.
Right.
But yes, but we've had 2 decades. We have had 2 decades where we've had glimpses of relevancy. I'm just saying the last 10 years has not been as bad as you think. It's been a tough. Last year was tough. Last year was one of the worst years. One of the fucking worst years.
This 2,
yeah. So, and this one's been hard emotionally, but that's just because of us. We got dumped, or we dumped the prettiest girl we ever dated. That's it. All right, that's the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. It's time to ice some fools up. All right, and who wants to go first? Ice up picks. Somebody's got to have a good one.
I'll just do mine because it's simple, man. Look, I'm a Clemson fan, and I think Florida State University is a bunch of pussies. I think Clemson passed every protocol to be able to play that game. For those of you who don't know, Clemson went to Tallahassee to play Florida State. They had one player that tested positive, but he didn't train that entire week. He only tested positive later in the week. And Clemson offered to move the game to Sunday or Monday, and FSU said they still didn't want to do it. Mind you, there are other games that have been played this season in college football that have had much, much worse circumstances that didn't lead to an outbreak, and the game was still able to be played. Everybody wanted to come under fire on Dabo Swinney and say he was a bad leader. No, he said what his whole team felt. So to all the people looking to say that Clemson was trying to be unsafe or that they didn't care about health and safety, that's bullshit. They passed every protocol. FSU pushed it out to the Florida State Seminoles. Ice up, son.
I like it.
All right, anybody next? Anybody want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go. Mine's simple. We dabbled in this on Sunday. I actually had a different one, but I have been drinking too much whiskey and I forgot what the other one was. So I'm going to go with my backup plan here. I might see up the NFL because, as I've always, advertised, the NFL is a television show. I think it's the highest rated television show of all time, too. So you got to remember they go by statistics and they go by what's going to make them the most money. And the fact that they will cancel certain games and make them be played on Wednesday afternoons at 3:00 in the afternoon or 2:00 in the afternoon, whenever the Ravens Steelers game is tomorrow, is garbage. And then they'll make teams like the Broncos, who they know are not going to make the playoffs or not make any kind of noise or not make any kind of money, play with a backup wide receiver from the practice squad as quarterback. It's bullshit, man. The NFL is a fucking TV show. They will slant things to go in their direction. I'm sorry, there's too many coincidences. Peyton Manning winning the 50th Super Bowl. They want Peyton Manning to win that. And they want Peyton Manning to be the face of the 50th Super Bowl rather than Cam Newton. Aaron Rodgers and Mahomes last year, they wanted that to be the Super Bowl matchup. They're in all the commercials together. It's not very hard to see what the NFL is doing. It's a TV show. Be fair, man. This is sports. It's about competition. There's supposed to be no bias in it. It's supposed to be total who is the best wins. Ice up, NFL. Like, seriously, stop playing these games. Let the best teams win, period. Give everybody a fair chance.
CK?
I'm going to – this is a hard one, but I'm going to go to a very easy one, and I'm going to get slightly political. The boy who cried wolf, let me not even say that. The hashtag fake news is so old at this point in time that every time you're accused of something, you should not just have to say fake news, right? Let investigations take place. But I cringe almost every time I see Donald Trump post a tweet. And this time it's about an investigation about possible bribery for a pardon, right? Whatever. Whether it's true or not is irrelevant. But the reality is, you take to social media every time there's something like this, and you make yourself sound like an impetulant child. Fake news. This is fake news. It's not real. Stop. You don't have to voice your opinion on every single subject. You're supposed to be the president of the United States, even if it is just simply for another 50 days or whatever it is. Just ice up, Donald Trump. You lost. Move on. Let's get on with our lives. Period. I'm just ready to be over it.
Yeah. My ice up pick is super simple. I'm not going. I got some other things about COVID protocols and different things that annoy me because I think half of it's for show. And actually, I can't avoid it. I gotta say it. My friend put up a tweet. It sounded awesome. He was watching the basketball game. He said, "I love how they call timeout, and then all these guys get huddled up together, very close." And then when they're not in timeout, they make them the same six dudes sit 6 feet apart.
Oh, my God. Optic, bro.
Oh, that is funny to me. But my ice up pick goes the Panthers this week for that loss, the Vikings. Just squandered. And not that I really, there's ice up. And that's the show. 252-228-5098 was a blast tonight. The post game got a lot of action. Interesting, folks. Interesting. Smash the thumbs up button. Call into the show. Participate in the chat and do me a solid. I don't ask for your money. If you give it, that's cool. That's nice with anybody that donates to anything. I donated Wikipedia today because I believe in the idea of it. But what you can do for me, your donation to me, share the show on social media with a friend. Tell a friend about it. See a Panther fan, say, hey, check out this podcast. I listened to it. Because we got more views on our show than any show all season when we sucked. Let's change that, folks. Let's have the most views every week, whether we're good, bad, or indifferent. I know it's hard. I know mediocrity is tough to cheer for in either way. It's good. It's easy to say crap when we're terrible, and it's really easy to be excited when we're great. But let's just remember, one podcast, one tweet, one share at a time. Let's grow this sucker. Cody Lashney, your tag. How can they get up with you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Cody Lack, CodyLac. Everybody knows you can approach me, message me, ask me all kind of questions at me. I'll BS with you. And there will be a brand new mock draft this Thursday this week on drafthack.com with all first round comments for the Carolina Panthers, written by yours truly. Get some insight into how I'm trying to draft some players and how I would do it, and give you a clue of who to look out for this draft season.
CK, where can they find you?
You You can find me on facebook.gg/CodeDizzleAllen. I stream most nights. And we have some fun. I have a short little clip coming out that's actually really I freaked out over. So we're gonna hopefully have that out here in the next week or so. So anyway, yeah, find me
All
on
right.
it.
Awesome. Follow it. Watch those video games. It's fun. Greg.
Check me out at the BatDaddy52 on Twitter. It's my only form of social media. If you can find me there, you can find me everywhere. Geek Open Alliance Network. I am on the internet 4 or 5 days a week live doing some kind of recording. If it's not live, it drops the next day in audio. Just check me out. I'm on a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Guys, update. The Dunn family spent much of its Thanksgiving playing family games of Among Us, where even the grandparents were playing it.
wow.
I think I can see why people like it, but at the same time, it's just okay. All right, guys, we'll see you not Sunday. No, we got a week. Take this Sunday off, guys. Take this Sunday off. We'll see you next Tuesday, guys. Have a good one. Keep pounding.